What's up, guys? Welcome to the first ever episode 204 of the Kind of Funny Gamescast. As always, I'm Tim Gettys, joined by the Reverend Jared Petty.
When the Greggy's away, the part-timers can play.
Oh,
That's
God.
right. There we are.
There you go. The hair. Fran Mirabella. The
Hey, best
third.
friends. What's
I
up?
love this. I love this so much. And joining us for her first time in a very long time on the Kind of Funny Gamescast, the busiest lady in the business, Andrea Rene.
Yay.
Hello, gentlemen.
We're going to have a good show today. I can feel it in my bones. And ladies and gentlemen, that pre-show, riveting content.
Yes.
If you want to hear Fran talk about True Motion, that's where you want to be.
And if you want to hear us bitch
Streaming
about
tech.
USB cables,
There's a lot of USB talks. Why do they call it universal if it ain't universal? All I'm saying.
Whitta needed to be here for that.
Yeah, exactly. That sounds like a Gary Whitta-ass thing. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a whole bunch of new stuff going on here with Kind of Funny Gamescast. If you go to patreon.com/kindoffunnygames at the silver level, you get to watch the show live with us. You get to watch the show 3 days early. It's great. You get a whole bunch of other shows, including Party Mode and a bunch of other content that we're doing. And you get to watch Kind of Funny Games daily, ad-free, be a part of that show. Ton of different stuff, all for the entire month of January. We are crowdfunding from you guys on both our Patreons, patreon.com/kindoffunny and patreon.com/kindoffunnygames. Every new dollar we get from any new patron or existing patron upgrading will go towards us funding the content for the first half of 2019 and a world tour that we are doing. We are on our way to hitting that London goal. It is very surprising. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I'm getting a little scared of how much stuff we're going to have to do this year, but guess what? We're going to do it. We're going to nail it. I'm going to feel really good about it. Because of all that, we now have a new permanent fourth chair.
Yes.
Fran Mirabella on the
new
show.
chair.
Greg is off shooting some secret stuff. He'll be back.
Even I don't know what he's doing. I didn't ask him, but yeah.
To be clear, when I say someone's off doing secret stuff,
It's
it means
never
no one knows
necessarily
what he's
true.
doing.
I killed him and he's in the trunk of my car.
He might be in Jared's car. Who knows?
he's really just taking a couple days off, and he's
Yeah.
using work as an excuse.
Is
let's
that
be
it?
honest.
Okay.
Might be.
Nothing wrong with that.
We don't know.
We don't know.
Working. I know.
You
Yeah.
should tweet at Game Over Greggy and let him know what you think he's doing. And we can go from
Take some
there.
guesses.
But this is the Kind of Funny Gamescast each and every week right here on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames and podcast services around the globe. You just got to search for Kind of Funny Gamescast. We talk about video games, all the things we love about them, what we've been playing. We have a big topic that we talk about. Today's topic I'm very excited for. But before we get to that, let's just start right off. What we've been playing. Andrea, I want to start with you.
Oh, okay. Well, I have been spending most of my time over the last couple of days finally finishing Red Dead Redemption 2.
So you rolled the credits.
I rolled credits. I know some people don't like that phrase. I'm not quite sure why, but after
Really?
I don't know.
Would you not like?
It's a good phrase.
Yeah, I
People
thought
just
so
hate
too.
everything these days.
It's true. Everyone has a gripe to
That's
pick
a
about
real
something.
thing?
Yeah, it's a real thing.
I like it. I feel like it's very like self-explanatory, but also it's such a indicator of where video games are at these days, where beating the game doesn't really make sense anymore. Rolling credits is like, oh, that's a good level indicator of how far you actually are in the game, because
Right.
so many video games these days, the end game, the post game is like more content than the actual game.
Yeah, I
itself.
think it has its birth in RPGs, where if you waited to finish everything there was to do in an RPG, you would never ever see the credits.
Yeah.
So they would put those in ahead. And gradually, as games grew more complex and more service oriented, it spread
I
to
would
others.
say roll credits, even if there were no credits. Like if it was the end, you know, it's just
Yeah.
a phrase. Anyway.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, so my reason for kind of pushing through the story to the end, because on What's Good, we've talked several times about how if you want to experience a lot of the open world, and Jared, I think you and I talked about this on Red Dead Radio when I was on, that you should probably stop around chapter 3 or 4 and just go out into the world and explore and take your time, because once you hit those later chapters, some fundamental things change. And I think it's not as fun to do those things because the pressure of the story is now mounted and you don't feel as relaxed in doing those open world
You mean
things.
when you're in chapter 3?
No, when you get later into
sure.
the story.
It definitely
things escalate.
changes the atmosphere of the game in a very intrinsic way. I'll agree with you there. So
Yeah.
if you're just wanting to wander, you're certainly welcome to wander after, but the sense with which you will wander the world will feel decidedly different
Right.
at that point. And likewise, you can wander in the epilogue, but again, that's a very different experience.
Right, and just for everyone's knowledge, we are not going to be spoiling what happens in the end of the game or what happens in the epilogue. We are actually doing a spoiler cast on What's Good Games this week. So if you guys want to hear that and you have played and finished the game, please come check that out. But don't worry, we won't spoil it for you here.
Fran, last week I was asking you what you've been playing, and you were saying that you were like coming up towards the end of Red Dead, but we didn't talk about it that week. What's your progress on it now?
I'm dying. I'm screaming internally because I said I was going to finish this thing. It's the biggest slog in gaming.
That's exactly the word I used.
In so
slogging
long. Yes.
through.
Oh, it's crazy. I was talking to Gary Witt. He said the same thing. And I was like, that's the word I've been using because it is on the money. But I'm at the end of the end of the end. You know where I'm at.
You think you are.
I think but that's, and here's no, it's legit fear. And I feel like it's a whole nother discussion.
How many houses have you built at this point?
Oh my God. No, houses. I mean, fences. Anyway.
Oh, no, you haven't. Oh, Jared. He doesn't even know.
That's what I'm on that part 2 of that end.
Yeah.
In any event, Tim, going back to what you said, so it's really has been a true plague on me that I'm like, I'm going to finish this, but I want to play these other games. I got my Destiny grind. I do actually play Fortnite, like we talked about, and so I'm really stretching myself thin, but I went back. I'm like, I'm going to get it done tonight. I got 8 hours, and I still couldn't do it.
No, dude, it's long. And
But
that's the
I'm
thing that
almost
I'm
there.
frustrated with is that I have talked at length about how it's clear this game is designed for people who want to take their time with it. That's obvious. And I am pressing my way through because the other girls have finished it and I have to be able to talk about the end. But I got to what I thought was the end and was a really like nice, fitting, climactic end. And then it was like, oh man, oh wait, there's more. And it wasn't just like a little bit extra because epilogues, are a pretty common thing across all different types of media. But this epilogue is ridiculously long. And the thing about it that upsets me the most is that there's the most mundane bullshit they make you do in the epilogue.
Yeah.
Like literal
Closing the
scooping
loops
of shit in the epilogue. I'm not even kidding.
Kevin, did you beat the game?
I did not.
That is the discussion that I want to have at some point is the gameplay design discussion. There's story and there's gameplay design. And what they do in the beginning of that epilogue, the mundane stuff you're talking about, I was just like...
Why?
But yeah, like I want the roll credits before that. I would feel better if they just rolled credits and said, you know what, don't expect more. But there is more, and the pacing in games is so important to me.
Listen, man, there's shit out there and it needs to get shoveled. All right?
It's true.
That's
Yeah.
all I can say about
you literally
that.
do, yeah. But dude, the gameplay design in that is just vexing. It's not for everybody. And I quite honestly, I think Rockstar is in a bit of their own bubble in the way that they did things. But it's a much longer discussion.
Sure. I will say, playing as much as I have over the last several days, probably 25 plus hours worth, it is the best horse riding simulator I've played in a while.
In a while.
If you're being serious, though,
Is it
Andrea,
the funnest, Andrea?
No, Assassin's Creed Odyssey is
is
by
better,
far
right?
more fun. I love the horses better. But realistic horse riding, man, they
you
really
hear the
nailed
There
it.
is some realistic horse riding that
It's like the Gran Turismo of horses.
do you
Sure.
like the game?
Yes, I do.
Listen to your review, though.
it
Do you see
made-
the problem with this?
No, but like here's the thing is that, and I said this when it first came out, when we first did our initial like review in progress, that this is one of the most conflicted games I've played, or it makes me feel conflicted because there's so much about it that I think is so amazing.
Yes.
And Jared and I talked about this at length on my episode, but there's also these things that I'm like, but why did you make this choice? And I think that's why, we're seeing kind of a split decision. But my experience as somebody who critiques games has shown me that even though there's things about that game that are pain points for me personally, the good parts I can see through. Like, the bad parts don't outshine the good parts of that game. That game is more good than it is bad.
The game, in my opinion, it puts you through trials due to the gameplay design to feel some of the reward.
Yeah.
And I would put it, it's a weird way to put it, it's the smell of the game. If you could take it in and actually breathe it in, that is what makes it very special. But it's a really weird thing to say because, and that's why
it is. I just flashed to like Bobby Hill smelling his alarm clock and then smelling
because there
it's-
is no smell like it right now in gaming, in my personal opinion. What they've achieved is incredible, but then I feel punished at these times where I'm just like, dude, this is not a spoiler in any way. I think I talked about it in the last episode. I'm like, you're really gonna make me follow you around on my horse while you pick herbs, dude? Like, literally, that is it for like 10 minutes. And it's more about the smell, I think. So, anyway.
Yeah, I'd love to, now that we're a little out, that there's a little distance from the hype that most people have finished it. We did a spoiler cast over on Red Dead Radio. I'd love to have the two of you on for like a Red Dead
Well,
Revisited.
if I ever finish it, Jared, I
think
would
that would
love
be
to.
fun.
Red Dead Revisited, baby.
Yeah,
Let's
I'd
go.
like to do
I'm
that. I'd
already
like to
into
go back
that.
and
I'm
Alliteration.
down. Because let me tell you, I doubt I'm going back.
Yeah.
I think now that the credits have gone, by the way, those are some long ass credits.
Those credits are amazing.
I mean,
How'd they
they're
smell,
great. They put some
smell?
artwork in that's really beautiful and really poignant. And like, I would encourage everybody to watch the credits all the way through.
They go full Ferris Bueller, which I totally did not expect. I love that. Like,
I'm not quite-
or not. No, Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
I was like, I'm
pardon
not
me.
getting the
Not Ferris Bueller. Fast Times at Ridgemont High. They go.
Arthur comes out
yeah.
at the end in a bathrobe.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
I said
would've
it
been amazing.
to Jared. I don't think I said it on the show, but I said it would be so awesome. So I'm glad to get it out there. If in the game, what they actually did is that as you think you approach the end,
Yeah.
Dutch just keeps saying, have some faith. I got one more mission. And he sends you out and it becomes the online game. And he just keeps giving you missions and you realize there's no actual end.
Yeah.
And that is almost
there-
how that game feels.
There was a very, very good-natured poke during the Kind of Funny fundraiser last week when you guys managed to plan out the next year and lay this wonderful groundwork for everything you're doing. But somebody had taken all of y'all and Photoshopped Dutch into all your heads. And they just said, just one more score.
Yeah.
Come
Oh, I
on,
saw
man.
that,
It was
actually.
adorable.
That was
It
genius.
really funny.
That's the way you go,
but it was
baby.
very sweetly done. Andy hopped in and was like, this is hilarious. So it was really cute.
Next up, Destiny 2. What's
Wow,
going on?
We did it.
I mean, you picked the right
We
week
I know.
to talk about Destiny 2.
People were asking.
Yeah, so I jumped back into Destiny in a really big way during the Dawning, which was the holiday festival that happens in December. I didn't quite bake
It's a
all
cookie
the
simulator.
cookies.
There
Yeah,
it is.
I was supposed to bake.
You
so
bake cookies.
they brought back Eva Levante, who's been a longtime Destiny character that we haven't seen
She makes the
for a while.
threads.
Exactly. So she was one of the customization characters in the tower previously. And so she comes back and you have to like build this little oven and then you have to go and collect different items to make cookies with. And there's like
Put 'em in the
12
milk.
different cookie recipes, I think.
Felt like there was a secret 13th, but yes.
Yes, there is.
The baker's dozen.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Ah.
Just figured that out
Well,
when I
the
said
secret one is like
I'm
a
probably
is like a
wrong,
no
so.
recipe one where you have to like
Yeah.
screw up a recipe.
Oh, wow.
And then once you have masterworked your oven, you bake a bunch of cookies and go deliver them to different
But
quest
you do
givers
it to
around
all
the world.
your friends in
Right.
the game who give you quests. Now you give them cookies
Friends
back.
in air quotes.
And that you do get rewards for it. You get power level and other. So there was a
you
reason.
get enhancement cores, which are really important to upgrading your gear. And if you're like me and you're constantly infusing things because you hate the way your hunter always looks, why is the hunter always ugly? I don't understand.
Wait, no, not at all.
Well, you
the
just-
Titan's always ugly.
No, listen. There's like 2 armor sets for the hunter that are good. The rest of them are trash fires.
Disagree. You clearly made a warlock, don't you?
Before we
Andrew?
move on to Hunter aesthetics, was going and getting cookies for your friends and baking them, and was it fun?
Well, the gameplay is always fun. That's the loop about Destiny that keeps people
Yeah.
like Fran and
That's
I
a free
coming
release
back.
right there, by the way. The Dawning.
Yes.
Yeah.
Free content if
So
you
So
bought,
you
just
had
running
fortune.
around and
bought
shooting
Destiny 2.
things so you can make your cookies? Like, that was the fun part?
Right, so going out and playing missions or strikes or playing in the Crucible earns you Dawning Essence, earns you different ingredients, and then you take all of those items that you've earned and then you can craft different cookies. And then the cookies you go and deliver and get rewards for.
Okay.
So you are earning rewards constantly throughout the open world, well, air quotes, open world, the persistent world, wherever instance you are in. To kind of further along your progression loop. And that's really core Destiny is like go out, do a mission, earn rewards, trade those things in, get some gear, right?
Right.
Like that's the loop.
But
Yeah.
it wasn't just, maybe to bring that full circle, it wasn't really new gameplay content. It was in the sense you could bake these cookies, but you went back to the same places. What you were trying to get,
Correct.
I'm probably forgetting something, was basically, especially there was a machine gun that you wanted, and you could keep re-rolling it by turning these things in. And obviously your sets of the way you look, which is really important in Destiny. You're like, yo, look at me, I got this set of armor, because once it's gone, it's gone.
Gone.
And that's what people play for, is this limited time vanity. Like emblems but other than that, I don't recall there being anything gameplay wise that you guys would be like, oh, that was a cool addition. Because it's not that. It's like it's one of those seasonal events, truly seasonal. It's winter. They decorate the tower and Christmas lights basically, and there's snow falling, so it's pretty cool. In the same way that Fortnite added snow and had some events in Fortnite. So
The real motivator to get in is not just the Dawning, but really the Black Armory, which is the
separate.
New, right?
It happened
different.
around the same
So that's
time.
paid DLC that you have to fork over money to get into, whereas the Dawning was free for anybody who bought base Destiny 2. And so all of the people in the What's Good Guardians clan have bought the season pass and all of
season
the
pass, not DLC,
right.
Because they're worried about
The expansions. Yeah, it's very confusing right now. And so there's a lot of overlap on the rewards there. And so I was trying to power level to level 600 because I fell really far behind playing everything through end of September, October, November. Now here comes the new DLC, and I'm like light level 530 or something. So thankfully, Bungie was like, yo, there's going to be a bunch of people who are probably joining because the Dawning is here for free for people in base Destiny 2. We want to encourage them to want to buy into the DLC. How do we do that? Let's let everybody power level.
Yeah.
So they had a Prime attunement. So these things called Prime engrams were supposed to be dropping more. But Fran, would you?
You're not finding that?
So no,
Because that's
And
if
would
you're
you believe
under
it?
600, which you are.
I
I'm not.
Yeah,
so I
I
didn't-
just broke 603 last week, but my persistent problem, and my clanmates have told me that I
Power
should
per
talk to
hour?
Bungie about it, is that I've gotten one exotic Forsaken drop since
Oh,
September.
that's totally normal.
One?
Yep.
Out of
It
15?
is so rare. You are suffocated to want just one more real,
So
true,
angry
new
about it.
exotic. But people are torn on that because when you get it, you actually still flip out.
But it's so
But-
RNG, that's the problem. And then the few missions and the quests that aren't are so ridiculously grindy, it's maddening.
You also, one, you may not have the best RNG, but two, you also need to be playing the events, which you may, because of your grind, you're not doing some of the stuff which has a higher exotic chance. They're so hidden that even I forget. Like, I think some of the spider bounties. And, anyway, we're getting off.
So I
We're
desperately.
getting into the weeds
Yeah.
of
I
Destiny.
wanted, no,
right
but
now.
I wanted to have the two of you here together. I'm so happy about this opportunity for you to jump right in on Destiny, because obviously I make fun of Destiny a lot because
What?
of conversations like this, where I'm like, that doesn't sound fun.
Yeah,
and-
but you think everything in Red Dead's fun.
yeah, exactly, and we move on from there. That a very fair point.
I'm joking. I don't know that you do.
No, it's flawless.
You love
No
shoveling
mistakes at all.
crap.
I love shoveling crap.
Great.
No. All silliness aside, Andrea was talking about the gameplay loop, and you were kind of agreeing there. One of the issues I've always had with Destiny since very early on was that it takes a lot of the trappings of an MMO, which is typically built on a more RPG-ish combat structure and an RPG-ish enemy structure and loot structure, which allows you to have less fidelity, larger spaces. It's easier to build levels. You don't have to build combat situations. Your AI can be very different. You can build much bigger, more varied areas.
Yes.
Because Bungie is limited by the kind of game Destiny is. As a shooter, it has to very carefully tune every
And it's
area
high
it builds.
polish. You're right. That is
extraordinary
exactly
polish.
what
Very
they're stuck on.
Yeah, and they have to do that, and that means that the game must, by its nature, be smaller.
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain to me what is, because when I hear you talk about the grinding, and then you're happy, but then you're sad, but then you're happy, but then you're sad. What is it about, and this is for both of you, and it's an honest question, not trying to pick on you. What is
try.
the grind joy? What is it about moving to those same areas, doing the same things that makes it fun?
I've said this over and over again that the first-person shooting mechanics that Bungie has crafted for Destiny and Destiny 2 are the best I've ever played. And I say that because I've spent literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours playing it because it just feels so good. The polish level, as we've mentioned, is exemplary. And the variety of guns is enough to kind of hit a sweet spot for any type of fan, no matter if you're, more of like an SMG or machine gun person, or if you prefer snipers or hand cannons or whatever, the style of weapon that you prefer to play with, you'll find something that you like. And the loot pool of gear is pretty varied at this point, and obviously it's gotten better and better with each iteration and each piece of DLC and each patch that Bungie has made. Are there still issues with it? Yes, but I think what keeps people like Fran and I coming back week after week, despite our gripes with the game, our kind of quality of life gripes, is that gameplay just feels so fun to play.
I'm glad I got to go second because I really got to think about how I wanted to put this, and I thought of a great way. And I'll start by saying that, yes, the shooting mechanics, and that is what attracts me to games like Mario. I always use the example of, you didn't know, but the friction equation when Mario slid and he turned and they tuned that, and that is one of the many things that separated why anybody could do a platformer, right? Especially back then, they're just jumping on stuff. But the feeling of it and the way the Destiny feels is amazing, especially if you're on PC. But not shaming consoles, I was on consoles forever, and an amazing console shooter as well. Just they have aim assist, auto this, and those little things that Bungie's been doing for decades make it awesome. And by comparison, Red Dead sucks with shooting. It is so frustrating, but it's not a shooter. But what is awesome in Red Dead, again, the smell, the feel of it, but the like just when you hop on your horse.
The shiny horse butts, man.
Man, just hopping on your horse or feeding it and brushing it, the feeling is incredible. And so that is what separates Destiny from a lot of other games like it. And there's just nothing like it when it comes to that first-person shooter, plus that grind. The grind is also just very different. They really do keep these really cool things from you that the whole community talks about, and you really feel like you need it. Yeah. Sometimes for no reason. And that's how they get you.
Let me ask you an old man question then related to that. I have a Centipede arcade machine in my house.
Oh, sweet.
The old arcade game. Centipede is the same game. Every time you pop in a quarter, it's always the same. It's ridiculously difficult. I mean, one of the hardest arcade games I've ever played, and I'm still not any good at it, even after owning this thing for over a year. But I am playing the same perfectly tuned shooting level over and over and over and over and over again. And I don't particularly get tired of it because I want to master it. Is it analogous? Is the experience analogous to that? Or am I thinking in the wrong direction?
I think it's got some of the same overlap, but they're clearly apples to oranges, right? And I think the mechanics go a long way to making the replayability tolerable. And in fact, not just tolerable, enjoyable. Right, something that I crave. Like if I was going to pick what I'd go home and play tonight, it would be Destiny. But I have another game on my list I have to play for the show tomorrow. So will I get to Destiny tonight? Maybe if I stay up super late. But I think something that Fran touched on that I want to maybe make sure gets added into why Destiny is so great is the lore of the world of Destiny is so expertly hidden within the game itself. That it's really clear to people who are in the know about Destiny and who love Destiny that Bungie has crafted things just for those players. To be able to go and find this little hidden area in a specific level that gives you a piece of lore that kind of reveals something, or some of the quest lines for some of the exotic weapons and how the Reddit community just ravenously tries to unravel
like a
what the
Souls type
mysteries
thing?
are.
It's like a Dark Souls type thing?
What's funny is...
I don't know. I definitely don't have enough experience with Dark Souls to tell you if that's...
I want to play Dark Souls. People have been asking for
You
it
gotta
too.
do it, Fran.
Later. I'm laughing because right now, for perspective, there was a box that you got a month ago with the launch of Black Armory called the Mystery Box, an exotic item, and you had to get these keys by shooting things in the world that were just hidden, which all has lore that you can dive into. And right now, the whole community, and it may be solved by now where it's recording on a... Can we say when? Doesn't matter, right? Recording on Tuesday. So we just hit reset. And people are trying to figure out hours on end to open up the new addition to the game. So it won't open until you figure this crazy mystery box puzzle, just finding these keys in the world. And then there's these runes hidden around the world that you gotta go. I don't even know how to solve it yet, but that is how deep it gets. And they've really, it's funny because such a small amount of people are doing it, but the idea that that's happening makes it really cool. And
that's so cool. Bungie's always been great about that type of game design.
Since Marathon, they were really good at that. Marathon's even then.
Awesome.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know you were a Marathon fan.
Yeah. Retroactively, because I loved Halo, fell in love with Red vs. Blue. Red vs. Blue at some point goes into Marathon.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, what is this? I gotta play this.
Durandal!
So fucking cool.
I would just want to finish that thought by saying that absolutely, any game, Destiny is not for everybody. Red Dead's not for everybody. But hopefully that's a little peek into why some people love it. I think the one thing you absolutely can't deny Destiny is what we touched on. It feels amazing. I mean, whether you like that style of shooter is different, but the feel of it, there's almost no games out there in that style that feel that good. Just when you pop someone's head off and the different styles of enemies, it feels so good because of the sound design and the polish is crazy. And again, another discussion for another time. All those little things, man.
Well, the
add
little things
up.
make such a difference. I went and talked to the Escher guys who are working on Torchlight Frontiers a while ago, and they were talking about how, again, it's the same thing with like a Diablo-style game. You know, it's that feedback. You're just clicking on things, but the flash happening at just the right
collision
moment, with
detection,
just the right
the
throwback,
animation,
with just the right, and suddenly it's fun instead of not
particle,
fun.
the design around. I mean, there's someone or a team of people's job sometimes is what sound do the particles make, and how does that all come together? In fact, there's effects audio people. It's crazy the detail, and that is, the choices you got to make in games. You spend a bunch of money on that. You spend it on story or 700 voice actors in Red Dead, stuff like that. It's amazing to see where you can lean into the polish of stuff and how it changes games.
I've been playing New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe.
Oh,
on
look
Nintendo
at
Switch.
you.
Can't talk too much.
Yeah,
I
it's
can't
not out yet,
review it.
right?
Yeah.
I was
It's not
like-
out. It's out this Friday as of recording, or it's out today as of you guys listening. But it's super. We've talked about this many times. One of the best 2D Mario games of all time. I feel like it got really kind of shafted because it was a Wii U launch title. People were really over the aesthetic and style of the New Super Mario Brothers games when that came out, because it was released the same year as New Super Mario Brothers 2 on the 3DS. So it felt very like, all right, we don't need this right now. But for the people that played it, they had a really good time. The return of the Koopa Kids being done in a great way, like a lot of really great stuff there. I remember replaying the game because what's his name? Jeremy Parrish wrote an article. He does his like top lists on Polygon, I think it is.
Yeah, he writes all over the place.
Yeah.
But I think that one's a
But
Polygon
he does lists on Polygon that are his. Like he ranks every game in a series, and he ranked all the Mario games, 2D, 3D, everything.
Bless you.
And his number one was this game, and I was like, "You're fucking crazy."
His number one?
Do not underestimate the power of Jeremy.
Like, he's a brilliant list maker. But above Mario 3, above Mario World, he put this game, and I was like, "You're fucking crazy."
Wow.
But then I was like, you know what? It's been a couple years since I've played it. I'm gonna replay it.
And the Wii U,
see-
man, was
exactly
your
It
mindset was
you were
so
so
different.
tainted going in, and then I replayed it. And I'm like, holy shit, this game is amazing. The level design is impeccable. The secrets are great. There's so much awesome shit going on. Better than Mario 3 or Mario World? No. But it's in the conversation. Like I can see in certain ways how it's better or how it's different, at least.
You and I have had this discussion about Super Mario Wii, which is my favorite.
Yeah,
and we've
it
talked about
shocks me.
for the same reason.
Yeah.
And U is quite arguably a better version of that same aesthetic.
Now, having said all that, if you haven't played this game before, now that it's coming out on Switch, I think it's a great time to get in and play through it and like see like, wow, this game actually is really damn good. However, for me, I don't think I'm going to complete it again. Playing
really?
through it, now it's like, all right, I have had kind of too much 2D Mario, and especially having replayed this game recently, like the last 3 years, and with games like Celeste and with just a new style of 2D platformers. Like right now, this style of Mario game, I'm like, you know what? There's not enough interesting things going on that are unique to this game for it to keep my attention. I think.
Yeah, it was-
again,
Are you playing it alone?
yes,
Okay.
and we're gonna do a bunch of party modes with it, so I'm excited to play.
Because I feel
play
like
it
those
that
games
way.
become a different thing when you play them with other people.
Well, yeah, but I think the reason why Nintendo is releasing this game at this time is because they need their number one poster boy to be staying fresh in people's minds, right? So Super Mario Odyssey seems like a long time ago at this point, and we don't really know when the next major game from Nintendo is coming because we don't really have a solid release date for any of their tentpole titles for this year yet. And so I think it's really smart of them to say, hey, we're going to kind of repurpose and like freshen up a game that was really popular and uses our most favorite characters to keep people picking up their Switch and looking at the eShop.
I mean, it
in
writes
the
itself. At the end of the day, it's like every single Wii U game that came out that was a first-party Nintendo title that of any importance is going to come to Switch, and there's no reason it shouldn't. You look at games even as small as Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, it sold way better on Switch than it did on Wii U. Mario Kart sold way better.
Well,
Every
it's got
single one
double the
sold
install
way better.
Yeah,
but it's like,
Wii U was a failure.
but it's
I mean,
like, why
just
not
say it.
take them and bring them over,
Yeah,
right?
I mean,
So like with this
Kirby
game,
sold over 1 million almost out the gate. For
exactly.
crying out
So
loud.
it's like they're gonna just
This
keep,
is
keep
Nintendo
going.
handbook stuff.
Yeah,
like
totally.
like, it did not sell. They spent money on it. You're not just going to sit there. And to your point, they have Mario release schedules, and that may mean they don't have like a 2D or 2.5D. We were talking about it last week too. Mario planned for this year, but we don't know yet. But it's such an easy way. Like we always, I mean, we can make a huge list of all the games we want to put on there. I'm sure you have already. So I think it's awesome that they're doing it. But what really you hit on that I think makes a lot of sense is that game was made almost mastering those games that you took Mario World and 3 and like you love them, but now you're like, well, but I'm looking for something new. And games like Celeste and others, they do offer that.
And actually, a
doesn't
thing
make
I
it
forgot
wrong.
to say is no, it's not. And I think that a lot. I know so
I'm
many
excited
people
about it
haven't
now
played
that you said it. I was like,
people haven't played it before.
I want to go back
so
and
it's like
play it.
this is going to be great for them to play for the first time. But I think that I'm especially burned out on it because of all the 2D Mario games I've played. But on top of that, Mario Maker. When Mario Maker came out, they had this graphic style as an option, and playing through the game, I played through the hell out of Mario Maker on Wii U. Then when it was ported to 3DS, it was one of my like playing games until the Switch came out for like a year. I'm just gonna play through some Mario levels because why not? And all of that really, I think, kind of hindered my excitement.
You're just a little burnt out on it. Is what I'm hearing.
I'm burned out because this game doesn't offer much new visually. There's the Starry Night level for anybody that's played any of the 2D Mario games in the last 20 years at this point.
Yeah. I wish the whole game were the Story Night level.
Tim,
That would be
play it
insane.
in 720p or whatever as it runs on an airplane. That's what it does offer.
Yo,
Meaning
sure.
the fidelity that it offers you on the places like that is what you easily forget about Switch, but just lying in bed or on your couch, you have not been able to do it there. But you may not play your Switch that way, or maybe you do,
I've
but
been
you're
Switch
just
everywhere.
Oh yeah, but you're you're over that. You've consumed so much of it.
Yeah, but anyway, excited to see what you guys think
I'm excited
about
about it. Yeah.
Question and a comment. I'll start with a comment. If you haven't played this game before, even if you haven't played it 2-player, it's a completely different and even better experience. Both these games, Wii and Wii U, in my opinion, are better with 2 people. And if you doubt if Mario game could be fun with 2 people, grab somebody you love. This game is carefully designed around a 2-3 player experience.
If it supported voice chat and online, would it also still be awesome?
I doubt it, honestly.
Oh, really? You
Yeah.
have to, it's one of those on the couch.
Yeah,
experiences.
it's kind of got that Mario
one of
Kart thing
these.
going on. It's one of those, exactly. I think
Commercial.
Switch
cooperation.
special.
Yeah. The other is, and then the question, this is very important for me.
Right?
So since we know that Wii U gamepad, is there an allowance for me to find some way to use the Tappy Touch?
I don't know because you're definitely a small part of the pie chart when it
That's the
comes
gift.
to that
Let's
stuff.
get that gift.
So much fun.
Yeah,
so much fun.
we'll have to see what that stuff.
I mean, if you have 2
disagree
Switches,
with
can you do it? That's what I want.
I don't think you can.
Okay.
But the thing I disagree with you about is I don't think it's better as a multiplayer game. I think the multiplayer aspect of this is fantastic, but I feel like that's a different game. It really is like playing the campaign in a shooter and playing the multiplayer mode, where it's just like it's this. You are playing through the same levels, but the way that you play through them totally changes. And I feel that what this game does better than Mario 3 or Mario World is the challenge coins, where they add them. That really makes this game hard for a single player experience, and it makes it worth playing alone and not with someone else. Not that you can't get them with someone else, but like that's going to be ridiculously hard.
Well, I don't know, because they make such great allowances for how the characters come back into the levels. I mean, I've played through it. Again, this is just Wii, but I played through 9-8, getting all 3 star coins on all levels co-op on the Wii version, and it was exhilarating. So I think U does it actually kind of better.
Well, there you go. And then the next game that you said you've been playing, France, Super Smash Brothers Ultimate.
Oh, of course.
How's that been going?
Well, I finally got back to it. I think the biggest thing that comes to my mind is when I first played it, I was like, I hate the online. Like, I am not happy with it. But I was PvPing with people that I knew. So the connection was actually reasonable, but just it felt like off to me because the game is so fast. But I finally got used to just something sunk in of like whatever that lag is, my brain is adjusted to, and it's tolerable. Also, I'm
God,
not.
I love when this adds up. Smash Bros. Ultimate background right now. Let's
Yeah,
go.
baby. And I also came into my own with. I've always played Smash. I've always been, I think, pretty good at Smash. But I
Beach
felt
baby.
like trash. Yeah, felt like trash because of some of these reasons. But I finally was like whooping on people and feeling good about it. And so, yeah, I'm just happy to be back. I'm maining Link now, actually. But
That's Britt's main.
I have not given
Oh, yeah?
up on Peach by any means. She's
no surprise there.
still one of my mains. But that game is gonna last for many, many years.
Yeah. Are you doing any of
Kevin's
the-
raising his hand because he's. What, Kevin? We'll repeat the question.
I was going to say, are you using the Ethernet adapter, or are you
Yes.
just going? Okay.
Kevin asks,
Like an
am I
adult.
using...
I said it's a mic.
Yeah.
Oh.
If you're playing Smash Brothers online, get the damn Ethernet adapter.
Yeah.
Stop contributing to this madness.
Yeah, dude, but I will say I've had some terrible matches, and I hate that you can't like thumbs down people or report them because like they should not be allowed to play. It's toxic. It's terrible when you run into someone that like it literally is in like slow motion, and you can't just like you could close the software, but there's no way to get out of it. And it's super frustrating. Nintendo needs to get its crap together with online. I mean, they're doing this much better, but they've got so far to go, and people just do not understand GSP either. The rating, they're like,
It's fucking
what
weird.
happened?
Yeah.
Like I hit like 2.2 million like after 5 matches. I just got lucky, and then I was like, boo, it fell down right away. I'm like, I don't even.
It's like
Have you
trying
got
to
Elite?
understand the college bowl system. Yeah, it's freaking amazing.
Have you got Elite with any of the characters yet online?
No, because I don't know how it works, and I have not played that much.
I haven't been playing online at
But
all.
I was getting
I'm
up there
letting
with
it figure
Link
itself out.
and actually Peach. But I think you need to put in hundreds of games to get
Yeah,
this, my guess.
I've been playing a lot of the single player because I just want to get all the spirits
yeah,
done,
the
so I can
spirit
just
adventure.
like whenever it is games as service, and when they add more stuff, I'll go pop back in. to
You're
get more.
collecting more
yeah.
than the competitive side of things.
Yeah, well, I mean, I play competitive with my friends and stuff, but just when I'm playing the game, I'm not playing online. I've been doing single player, and right now I just crossed 900. So I have 900
Spirits.
out of the 1,300 spirits.
Nice.
Dude, I
Impressive.
probably have like it's crazy to think how much more you've played of that. I probably have like 50 of them or
Yeah, I have.
100. I don't
There's
know,
like
but-
there's the
I have
challenge boards
0.
that are
Played.
essentially like achievements or
Not going
trophies.
to, yeah.
And there's 124 of those, I think, and I have 90 something. So it's like I'm getting there, man. I'm pushing through. Pushing through.
I need your guidance.
just
I've
playing
beat classic
matches.
mode with over half the characters. So
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm getting there.
Nice.
Classic mode's kind of cool. Actually.
Classic
I like
mode
the little
is
storyboard
fantastic,
stuff, and
man.
yeah.
I love it. There's so much love and care put into that. They really knocked it out of the park. I keep being surprised by like things I'll see in classic.
It's funny.
mode.
I'm more likely to play that mode since it's a little more straight on, like
Yeah.
kind of fights. Spirit Adventure. I just don't. I haven't wrapped my head around it yet. It's
Everyone's
like
heard
equip
my
these
thoughts on
spirits
it.
and longer.
It's funny because you guys were talking about the grinding of Destiny and all that stuff, and that very much is World of Light mode. And you were talking about like this sounds like you don't like it. Everything you're saying sounds like you don't like it. A lot of people in the comments on our top 10 of the year were like, Tim, you put Smash Bros on it. You didn't say anything good about it. You literally just said everything you don't like. And it's like that. I
Love
feel
the
like you
pain.
guys know why I love that game, and
Yeah.
I've talked about it on so many different shows. I probably should have done a better job praising it during that episode, but I just care so much. But my point was, despite all the bullshit, I still love so much about the game.
Did you see this thing floating around Twitter this week with somebody made a me Anakin Skywalker fighter? Have y'all seen this? He's got the lightsaber, he's got the face. Somebody nails it, and it's a zoom in on a victory screen, and it's him, #1 in victory, over 4 young Links, and it just says, "Not the young Links." And
no.
it's beautiful. I was like, oh, that's
Yeah.
lovely.
But
That's
something that I like that they added. So there's these spirit like events, I guess they're called. I don't even know where. Have you
called
Is
seen
it
church.
this?
weekly or
Where-
they
Every Sunday.
they do events where you can capture these spirits,
It's
right?
about,
Is that what you're
it's
talking
about every week where it's like there'll be a theme for the week, and you can go in spirit mode. Like one week was like, I think it was called like Let's A Go, and it was like all Mario
Let's-a
characters
Go.
that you go in, and it's like when you go play spirits, there's a higher chance of Mario characters popping up. Then there was a Fire Emblem event where there's more chance of Fire Emblem, and like that type of stuff. I'm like, this is really actually kind of meaningless and stupid. Like it's randomized anyway. Like who cares? But one of the events. I think it was the Mario one, had spirits that you could only get during that week.
Exactly. That was the thing I noticed.
And I'm like, oh,
That was neat.
that's going to get me like, I hope they keep adding that, because that would get into like Destiny territory of just like, oh,
gotta have that
it's
spirit.
small meaningless stuff, but like, well, I got to get it though. You know what I mean? It's like, I need to keep coming
Totally.
back. I'm hoping they do
It'd
a lot
be
more
cool
of
if you
that.
could somehow show that off online, that you have certain things like, but that's like, I don't want to knock it. I love the idea of it, but it's kind of just for you right now. It's a collector game,
Oh, yeah.
and I guess you can show your friends, but you can't show it off online or anything.
Yeah, you can take a
Jared and
picture,
Andrew, you
post
guys
it on
don't,
Reddit.
not Smashers.
I play Smash quite a bit, actually.
Oh yeah, and Jared plays, but I have long held that Smash is not my game. I have
fine.
no problem with people who like to play Smash. It's just not for me.
Do you
She's
like
not a
fighters?
Smash sister.
The only fighter I like is Mortal Kombat.
That's right.
I have played a lot of other fighting games over my time as a video game player, but the
Yeah.
only one that's resonated with me that I'm actually eager and excited and want to play is Mortal Kombat.
Does Injustice end up fitting into that with you too? Or
So really liked my time with Injustice because obviously it's from NetherRealm, the people
Yeah.
who make Mortal Kombat, and they took a lot of the learnings from Mortal Kombat and applied it to the first Injustice, and then they took what they did with the first Injustice and applied it into Mortal Kombat 10, which I loved
Yeah.
even more. And so I'm really excited to see what they do with Mortal Kombat 11, which is...
Did you play Injustice 2?
Yes, I did.
Injustice 2 is
Fantastic.
freaking fantastic.
It's
The
a
story mode in
beautiful
that game
game, yeah.
is how fighting game story mode should be.
Absolutely.
It was totally riveting. I was super involved the entire time. Like, have you played it?
No.
You should.
What's so
it's
cool
good.
about it is the story mode is there's an actual story that's cool. It's comic booky and it's whatever. But every match makes sense for the story going on, but you switch characters throughout it. And then there'll be like points where you choose which character you get to play the fight with. But it just keeps moving and progressing. And like it really teaches you the mechanics of the games based on the characters that you're
That's cool.
supposed to play.
It's also a game where
brilliant.
the Joker
Yeah.
can beat up Superman with his fist.
And then there's all of that. It's oh my god, it's so fantastic.
That wasn't a plus.
I've never.
You know,
Why?
right after
It's fantasy, Jared.
I mean,
You know,
right.
It's fine.
I was just gonna say, right after I finished all the Dark Souls series and grind through all of Anthem and finish Assassin's
Yeah, yeah.
Creed
You'll
and
go
play the new
back to
Super Mario
Injustice 2.
and
Yeah.
finish getting all the characters and spirits and Smash Bros., then I will play.
Well,
Okay.
the story
Fair.
mode for Injustice 2
there's
does
so
not
many good
take an
games.
incredible amount of time. It's, maybe
Meaning
what?
5
Like,
I'm joking.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
actually
Like
love fighting games. I grew up on Street Fighter 2 and Mortal Kombat at the
Yeah.
arcades. It was formative for me. I would make my parents drive me to the bowling alley where I would challenge people and sit there, and my brother would be like, "You got to play my little brother." So loved it, but I kind of gave up on that life,
Yeah.
and Smash has become the one fighter that at least I love. But I do love the games, and they sound so good. I freaking love Ed Boon and NetherRealm. They're
Based
so
on
yeah,
what,
I
based
love
on what
so
you were
many.
talking about of the Injustice led to Mortal Kombat 10 led to whatever.
Yeah.
I cannot wait from Injustice 2 going to Mortal Kombat 11,
Yeah.
and it's coming to Switch.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my god,
Maybe-
that I cannot wait for a flight to New York just so I can beat that game.
Yeah.
on a flight.
That's-
Maybe
oh,
to your
it's gonna be
point
so awesome.
is something I've been thinking about this a lot. Like I played a little bit of Gree, right? I've not finished it or anything. It's pretty short, but maybe I should just play a little bit of Injustice 2 campaign. And like, do you think that? What if I
I mean, at this point, it's
sample it.
outdated. Wait
Yeah.
for Mortal Kombat 11.
Yeah, well, and Gris is
Really?
only like 4 to 5 hours, so you should be able to like knock that out.
Yeah, I
no
mean, that
problem.
aside, if I was to go back and play some Injustice,
No,
do you think it's worth it, or
it's
just
a
wait for the
solid
next Mortal
fighting game? You should play it. I mean, I was crapping on the fact that Joker beats up Superman.
But if I just wanna play for 2 hours.
Are
Yeah, you
adorable.
could-
It's
Yeah,
a
the point
great
of
if you just
game.
want to play for a couple of hours, it's
Netherrealm-
definitely
worth it.
worth it. Yeah.
And good stuff.
The point I was trying to make is, I don't know, do you guys feel this? I grief myself constantly because I don't have enough time to really know the games.
Right.
And when I look at a game, even when it's like $7.99 on sale, I'm like, I can't get into it. Part of it is the addiction of wanting to be that completionist or just amazing at it. But then sometimes I'll play something, I'm like, why didn't I just play this for an hour? Because you experience something new and... But where do you land on that? Do you guys
I'm
ever
a
feel that?
play it for an hour, guy.
Right, well,
if it
that's
doesn't,
why
you're okay with it. Doesn't
subscription
bother you?
services are
I'm
so
out.
popular right now, right? You have Xbox Game Pass, there's PlayStation Now. But
does that
there's
thought
tons of subscription
bother
services where you
you?
can
Or is
just
it
try it.
me?
Does it bother me?
Yeah, do you go through this like literally
No,
the
I'm not a
pain?
completionist, so it doesn't like I can pick up a game and then walk away from it.
I'm not a completionist either. I should say, like, I really want to go into the depth of the game.
I think that I appreciate where you're coming from because you can't truly know a game until you get to a certain point in
exactly.
it. And each game is different, and certain genres require a much bigger time investment than others,
Yeah.
right? Like I think about some open world RPGs where you're scratching the surface in the first 20 hours of the game, right? Like that's wild to think that
thank
you
you.
put
Yeah,
that
like
much time
Assassins.
in and you're not really there yet. Yeah.
What if I
Assassin's
just play it
Creed
for an
Odyssey
hour?
is a good
Probably
example.
not enough, right?
No.
I'm thinking about a day when I was growing up, Fran, where we would go to the Sam's Club and eat the samples for lunch on
Oh, yeah.
Saturday. You know, the sample section.
You
at
mean
Sam's
like last
Club.
weekend?
Like Costco.
Yeah, exactly. Like at the Costco, you go, you get the samples, you get the little cheeses, like last weekend. And you get those and you eat them all up for lunch. And then that same day, like 5 hours later after shopping with my family, we went out and had a fancy dinner at like the Olive Garden, you know.
Oh,
Oh
breadsticks.
my gosh! Now
It-
you're speaking to my heart.
Yeah, this
OG,
is home,
baby.
right? Back
Oh.
days. So I think that for a lot of people, it's possible to enjoy samplers at lunch and then dive in deep at dinner. I don't know if you enjoy samplers at Costco, but if you do, give yourself a little time to have some like crappy samplers for a while, and then go back in and have a big dinner at the Olive Garden.
And
You can
those
do both.
samplers don't have to be crappy. Is
I
what
love
Jared really means to say.
the
They can be
analogy.
great.
Yeah, I love the analogy, Jared. I don't understand what it means with what I said, but you succeeded in making me hungry. So that's
I definitely
what,
want breadsticks now.
all right.
This episode of the Kind of Funny Gamescast is brought to you by the University of Advancing Technology. The robotics revolution is coming. Don't be afraid of it. Be a part of it. R2-D2 or C-3PO, Schwarzenegger's Terminator T1 or the T-3000. I go T1 on that. I'll be honest with you guys. OG. The maid from the Jetsons or Data from Star Trek. personal favorite is Data from Star Trek. I'm watching TNG right now. What up, TNG? Johnny Five or Bender, want to build and program robots for a living? ? Well, the University of Advancing Technology has you covered. The robotics degree program of the University of Advancing Technology, or UAT, provides students with the foundational robotics education for the design, implementation, and analysis of robotics and embedded systems by combining the best of class elements of computer science with autonomous robot technology. Students in the robotics and embedded systems degree will gain valuable knowledge and will be prepared to excel in robotics career. The world we interact in every day and technology we utilize are built upon the foundation of embedded systems. The robotics and embedded systems degree provided students the engineering foundation for design, implementation, and analysis of embedded systems with an emphasis in autonomous robotic systems. The robotics engineering foundation for design implementation with an emphasis. Okay, well, I read that twice. I apologize, but you know what? You guys got the message right now. Here's the good stuff about this ad read. Graduate at the speed of tech, earning a bachelor's degree in less than 3 years. I love that. 4 years, too long. 3 years, 3 is the new 4. Start learning tech from day one. Students begin their program major courses from the semester until they graduate. Online or on campus, UAT offers a range of technology degrees for both bachelor and master's programs. University of Advanced Technology is a university in Tempe, Arizona. Founded in 1983, UAT integrates technology into its general education requirements. The institute offers core classes as well as deep sets of courses in each major. Deep sets. Nothing better than deep sets. Here you go, ladies and gentlemen. Learn more about the programs available at University of Advancing Technology at http://uat.edu. That's http://uat.edu. Next up, we've got hymns. This one is personal. It's right here. It's in the heart of Papa Scarpino, and always on the tip of my brain. Always on my mind. You know what I mean? Because it's above my mind, in my hair. Listen, when I was 25 years old, I was like, what's happening to my hairline? Why is it going away? I'm scared. I hate everything. And I don't understand why the world would do me like this. Why you got to do me like this, genetics? Well, guess what? Hims stepped in now and was like, you don't have to be done like this. We can make this right. We can make this right. We can beat genetics. Hims. forhims.com. You want to go there, check that out. Hims is a one-stop shop for hair loss, skincare, and sexual wellness, all for men. 66% of men lose their hair by the age of 35. If you're one of those people, listen up. Hims got you covered. Right now, you can go over to forhims.com and check out what they have. These are well-known generic equivalents to name brand prescriptions to help you keep your hair. No snake oil pills or gas station counter supplements. Prescription solutions backed by science. Me and Andy are on that finasteride train. I'm using the shampoo, which smells so good, and I eat the vitamins because they're good for your hair and your skin, and I like them a lot because they taste good. Ladies and gentlemen, go to forhims.com right now. Right now, my listeners get a trial month of Hims for just $5 today while supplies last. See website for full details. This would cost hundreds if you went to the doctor or pharmacy. Go to forhims.com/kinda. That's forhims.com/kinda. forhims.com/kinda. That is all. Now back to your regularly scheduled program. Watch out!
I want to get into the topic of the show, which is our most controversial gaming opinions.
Oh my gosh.
I thought this would be a fun conversation because now that Fran's part of the show, we for years have given him shit for many things. For many years, we'll continue to give him shit for many things.
Right when he brought this topic up,
yeah,
I was like, I know what you're doing.
But one of the things that Greg Miller has given Fran shit for the longest is the infamous 7.9 that Fran gave to Mario Kart Double Dash.
Do we have to listen to him defend this again?
I mean, hey.
Apparently, you're going to lambaste me for a year.
You should make him defend it when Greg is actually here.
Yeah, I think Greg's going to be bummed. But trust me,
I'm happy he's not here.
I won't be surprised if it's on
because
every
what I
show.
Say, you were right.
Let's go.
You were
Let's go.
Mario Kart Double Dash, it's
good.
fine. It's fine.
Yeah. It was officially good, not great.
Yeah.
On the
and
scale.
I'd give it to that.
Yeah.
Good, not great.
High on the good scale. Almost great.
I'm calling Forbes to take that award back.
What would you give Mario Kart Double Dash?
If I were rating it today, off the top of my head.
rating it then.
Oh, yeah, in like what,
then I'd have given it a higher
2003
score probably.
Really?
Yeah, I'd give it
after 64.
Wait, what'd you say?
Yeah, 64. See, I am not a
Tread
huge...
carefully here,
It's a
Jared.
good game. But if I was going to flip, I'd say that probably Double Dash is probably about an 8.6, 8.7. And that I'd probably give a solid 8 to 64.
How dare you?
Yeah.
Mario Kart 64 is one of the best games of all time.
It's
Don't
fantastic.
ask.
Oh, there's some
How
bad,
long-
there's
how
some
long
bad
since-
opinions
So
at
is
this
Super
table.
How
Mario
long has it been
Kart.
since you've gone back?
It's bad,
Yeah, but you
Andrea.
can't go
It's
back.
bad. But battle mode is good.
But
No,
like,
that's-
Battle mode is good.
Double Dash didn't
Fran,
have
thank
it.
you. It's not about the way it plays today. It's about what it represented when it came out.
Well, if I'm comparing those two then, though, absolutely. Double Dash was leaps and bounds more fun in everything but
How
battle
dare
mode
you.
than 64.
Let-
The tracks were better designed. The two-player dynamic was fantastic. But you know what? I shouldn't be the one talking about this.
No,
Friend
it's fine.
Maribella should.
Let me just say that unless you were there and had to do the job and live in the ecosystem of GameCube and PlayStation 2 and 3 and all that coming, you cannot rate it. There's no, well, I went back and I played, because it is all about looking around you. And when we rated games then as well, it was about a couple things. The first and foremost thing, the way that we did at IGN, was games on the system.
Yep.
And really basically that, the value of that ecosystem. We were encouraged not to compare too directly those systems, right? Because you may only own a GameCube. That was the idea. So that was a big weight, right? I looked at all the games on GameCube and just sort of what it offered versus other things on the system that you get value out of. So that was a big part of it. Certainly, you look back at old Mario Karts and things like that, and of course. But I would put that out there as when you also I did look at PlayStation and other stuff that was going on and technology, and it was just like, it just was missing a little something for me. That it was good, but it wasn't great. But I will admit that my expectations were so high for GameCube. I mean, that's how I got
I
into
mean, they should have been.
They were so high, and certainly it weighed on me for some of the greatest games of all time going into, finally, we're going to get online, by the way. They were talking about it, and that, above all, the missing of online and looking around on PC and even PlayStation, you could get some reasonable online experiences. And Nintendo just completely botched it up, and it was a huge miss. Like, factually, I will say. If Mario Kart played even reasonably well online, it would have been cool. But instead, I found myself using at the time, it was like Warp Pipe to play LAN.
Yeah, I was going
It was
to
a
bring up Warp
hack.
Pipe, right? Yeah.
It was a hack to try to get. So yeah, I had big expectations to play online, but battle mode also sucked.
Did you
sucked.
think you could make a good version of Mario Kart on the wired backbone that existed at that point?
Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah,
because
you felt good about that?
other things were doing it.
Were they doing
PC
it
was
well?
doing it. I mean, I got to
Tony
look
Hawk's Pro
back,
Skater.
but wasn't
Killing the game.
Yeah, but
What
then
was?
again,
Tony Hawk's Pro Skater Online?
yeah,
God,
but that's
I
not
remember.
that's not a precision kart racer, and those games
It was
are
a precision.
Jared,
That was skateboarding.
Pro
Okay,
Skater 3.
here's where you smash cut to footage of Smash Brothers today, and it's like a freaking slideshow.
Yeah.
and people are playing it. So,
Yeah.
Anyway, there was I'd have to go back and look. I don't remember if it was like a Gran Turismo. I felt like there was like racers at the time. I was like, yeah, they have like a reasonable online mode. Just think of like Ghost Racing even.
Yeah.
Like they didn't even have.
Well, Warp Pipe
that.
made it work on early.
Yeah.
I mean, they
Yeah,
that
but
was
it didn't
obviously
really
possible.
work.
But that's no, I'm not going to make excuses for Warp Pipe. My point
Oh,
is that
here.
if you'd had a high speed backbone, yes, it absolutely would have worked.
I know it's not a racer, but just go play Halo back then. Okay, it worked. And
You know, it's funny you bring that up. We'll
Yeah.
talk about that. in a
Okay,
minute.
but it did work. And
Oh, no.
and what he's making me nervous. But whatever the case, it underdelivered big on online. But I do want to say, I mean, the co-op and the design of the campaign and single player racing and all that was tons of fun.
See,
I love the
that's
levels.
where I'm at, where I'm like, that's
Yeah.
where things, I don't give a fuck about the online. And especially back then, I think that's like not something that was standardized enough.
I'm
where
not saying
the dot
that's-
points. I get it. But what I'm saying
I
is
didn't hinge it on that. That was just a big part
Some
of
of the
it.
tracks, there was not enough iconic
was not
tracks.
enough.
There's Baby Park. There also was not enough. The single player content was severely lacking, and the introduction of the dual cart system, the dual characters
Yes.
on the card with the items tied to them, broke it a lot. Where there were certain characters that were just flat out better than others.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Do
Sure.
you think that's untrue in other like Mario Karts? That there aren't characters that are just flat out better than others in almost every version
But
of the
in
game?
those games, it's like if you chose one, other people also couldn't choose them, and there
Yeah.
wasn't other characters
But
that
I mean,
had the exact
64
same
was the
stats.
same way. I mean, 64 was.
I'm not arguing for
broken.
64. I'm not a
Yeah.
64 fan
Interesting. So
besides Battle
you
Mode.
got into imbalance at the time, and that was part of what
Whoever
bothered me.
picked Toad
Yeah,
had the
I always
advantage
picked
of the acceleration.
Maybe that's why I liked it. I played Toad all the time.
It's funny because I've been playing Toad since '64.
But if you chose them,
Yeah, of course.
then someone else
I never
couldn't.
really quite noticed actually some of this imbalanced stuff that you're talking about. Probably
There was
because I
some
always
issues,
played Toad.
Yeah.
So was that on your list though of your top 5 most
Oh,
controversial
100%.
gaming
It
opinions?
was at the bottom of the list. I mean, I had to put it on there, but it was, to me, the least important controversy on my top 5. But I mean, it's funny. It was a big one. I'd put out 2 things that would add more weight to understanding it. At the time, magazines were the queen bees. They were in charge, and EGM had put out their scores, and it was 99999. By the way, right, no online really available yet. And back then, you had to kind of like in this internal working with Nintendo, deliver the boxes under lock and key, like let you play before a month because of the magazine delivery. So they put out huge scores before IGN did it. Guess who was next in line? One Fran Mirabelle III. And I was the first person to come out the door and review it, and it wasn't like what they put it at. So it just, the contrast at the time, they called for my resignation and said, get out of here, Fran, you suck. And that was like, I couldn't live it down, and it made the Urban Dictionary. This is the first I ever heard of the Urban Dictionary. It's still in there, 7.9. And if you spell the words out, it's getting 7-9 was a term. One of my friends in freaking just outside Chicago in a suburb, he was in a class and somebody used the term, you get 7-9. And he's like, what? Did you just say what I thought you said? Like, it really like made it as like a fail, which is awesome, I think.
Hell yeah, dude.
It's been all uphill from there.
Give me one.
Oh my gosh. So when Tim told me that this was going to be the topic for this week, I was like, how dare you? I already get enough shit from everybody on the internet. You're going to make me talk about some of my controversial gaming opinions. So I have a list here of ones that I'm kind of like still workshopping. And I want to make a full disclosure that I have not properly researched my arguments, that my theories are thin, and that I don't have
That's the kind of funny style.
Controversy, baby. Let's go.
to support my opinions.
Hell
Burn
yeah.
the dumpster.
If I was doing
Welcome
a
to how I
true
live my
oral
life.
defense of my thesis, I would come prepared with the right supporting materials. I did not do that
No,
today.
but here's the thing. These are your opinions. The goal for this, by the way, and then like
Right.
to set the tone correctly. These are not like
Sirens
things
are on
that-
our end.
They're not
Sirens are on-
tattoos.
Sorry.
This is not trying to start shit with people. This is just our individual thoughts and opinions,
Yeah.
and for a fun argument. We already told them.
Yeah.
I think the sirens add color. It's real.
Sorry, you were being very impassioned and pure there, and we both interrupted you. It's
all good.
I'm afraid we're going to run out of time to talk about all 5. Are we going to be able to talk about 5?
We shouldn't.
This is the kind of funny games cast.
We can
all
do
right?
it.
Okay.
We
Let's
can do
just
it.
fucking go.
Okay,
Let's
okay.
see what happens.
So one of the ones I put up here, because I knew that this would be controversial, was one of the most controversial topics of last year, is about microtransactions.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think microtransactions are A-okay. To be clear, I
Comma.
don't think loot boxes are A-okay. Loot boxes, bad. Microtransactions, totally fine.
Expound.
Curious. Is
So-
this coming out of like Battlefront?
So no, this is coming really out of Destiny more than anything.
Oh.
And my original gripe about the way that Silver and Bright Engrams and things worked previously, but I thought about this quite a bit over the last year because it came up continually in the news. And as somebody who loves playing mobile games, which might be one of my controversial opinions later on, I want to say that definitively, I think that there's nothing wrong with microtransactions as long as you know what you're buying. It's clear what you're paying for, how much you're paying for it, and what it gets you in the game. Because I love the microtransactions in a game like Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I keep finding myself wanting to put more and more money into Helix credits to buy the skins for Phobos, my horrors, to buy the different crew themes. There's
You did
a
say horse, right?
horse. Yes. Skins for my
Horse.
steed, my mount, my horse. Yes, the animal that I ride and gallop around in the world.
Okay.
Don't take it
Could be
any
taken
other
a few
way
ways.
that you want it to. Wait, what
You
did I
You know
say?
what? You
Fuck,
just
Fran.
wow, quote it.
You know
All of
what?
that is fantastic. I'm
Whatever.
sorry.
I messed that up. Here's the thing. My point is, I really enjoy the customization options that you can buy through microtransactions in that game. And I think that it's fine. I don't care that it's a $60 full price game and then they add customizations on top of that, because there's plenty of things that you can earn in-game with in-game currency and buy through the money you earn in the game. For example, I bought the white unicorn skin with money I earned playing the game. And I bought the black unicorn skin with money that I paid into the game in Helix credits. So I am definitively saying that I'm okay with them, and you can have me.
I'm totally with you. Where it's like, I
Touching
feel like they
one.
can be used for evil, and they are often used for evil, but they can totally be used right and are often used right.
Well, I think the reason why they're so controversial in today's day and age is that a lot of people are complaining that video game developers are continually pulling content out of games that used to be included in games and saying not only are we going to make you pay for the game and give you less, but we're going to make you pay and then make you pay and make you pay.
Are they withholding
and make you
content?
pay?
I'm going to go a step further. I think it's fair to say that some video game developers, an increasing number of video game developers that are trying to get funding for their games, are having to go to investors that have heard about this stuff and say, we are designing our game around microtransaction models. We are building a game that is designed to extract money from people a little bit at a time. And what that does to the way you design your game, what that does to what the game is about, what that does to the art, can be extraordinarily disruptive and corruptive. That said, conversely, it also allows things, incredible games, great games like Fortnite to happen. A game that is free for everyone and available on every platform under the sun and not exploitative of its audience whatsoever. So I think there's a lot of merit to what you're saying, but I do think that not only are things being taken out, I now think that vast AAA games are being designed primarily around how do we keep getting money out of people, and that has less over time to do with it being a good game and more over time to do with, say, exploiting somebody's tendencies toward gambling.
That's the slippery slope, because it can, by the way, I do agree. In some cases, it's fine. Like, it's just vanity. It's extra. There's so much in the game. And in those cases, some people still hate it, but I'm on the side where I'm like, it does not affect the game. It's fine. But the slippery slope is when you find out the game director spending time in these meetings, and couldn't they have spent time on that boss design that I didn't like? By the way, did you withhold this? And actually, I think famously, I was trying to remember the game. Wasn't it like a Tekken or a Capcom game? What was the one where it was on the disc, but they unlocked it after? Now, that was not microtransactions.
Street Fighter 5, right?
Yeah, but that was part of this
launch.
infamous controversies. In fact, I was thinking about it in this list at one point when it all started was when stuff came on disc and you found out it was burned in the disc, but you had to unlock it by buying stuff and separate. We've evolved way past it. But I think it's a great pick, by the way, because everybody, if you just Google trends, microtransactions versus some other stuff, that's probably like off the charts.
Well, I think one of the talking points we always come back to around the conversation of microtransactions is the base price point of video games and how it hasn't raised in quite some time, and that these microtransactions post-launch are really supplementing the overall budget of these games, because games are not $7.99, games are not $89.99 or even $99.99, where they probably should be, given the way inflation has risen over the past 2 to 3 decades.
Yeah.
And so they're really supplementing a lot of the ongoing development, particularly for games as live service, to make sure that they can keep funding that development team, and they do so with microtransactions.
That's so hard for people to understand, though. And you're right, but I think that's where you got into it with Destiny. They said, no, we're doing this so we can build, blah, blah, and it didn't really work out that way.
Well, you end up in a situation.
It didn't work out because it was RNG, right? Like, I can't go up to, well, you could in certain things in regular Destiny. In Destiny 2, if there's a specific emote that I want from the silver shop, I can't buy silver with my real money in the PlayStation Network, get silver, and then use that silver to buy the emote.
Yeah, it's
I
not
have
like
to buy an
Fortnite.
RNG package,
Yeah.
hope that I get it, and then if I don't, I have to break down those items into
Yeah.
Bright Dust, and then use the Bright Dust. It's just convoluted.
We end up in a situation sometimes with contemporary games. I know all the focus goes on what's taken out, but where we need to be asking ourselves, am I purchasing a game or am I purchasing a store? Because a lot of things that are disguised as games now are as much stores as they are games. And I think that's important for us to think
Do you
about. And
have
I'm not
an
just talking about
example
the mobile
of what
space.
you mean by that?
Yeah, but I can't say it. Let me let's see.
It's the game he's designing right now. No, I'm just...
I think a good place to no. Let's just skip that for right now, Andrea.
Yeah. Jared, what's your controversial statement?
Starting at the bottom, let's go with one that's not going to make people too angry. But let's roll back to where Fran was. Halo made shooters worse.
Scoff.
That's such a broad statement,
Yes,
so
it is.
let's
It's very
let him
broad.
comma.
Yeah, I'm
very-
holding my thoughts.
guys
Very
are
quick
really-
one here. Halo is a
bait.
fine quality shooter. As a matter of fact, it's a
Halo
very,
1?
Yeah, Halo 1.
Oh,
Halo
I didn't-
1
I
is
wanted to
a-
make sure. Okay.
Halo 1 is a shooter that elevated console shooters to a new level. It took the very janky but enjoyable GoldenEye and Perfect Dark formula and turned it into something much, much more complete
What?
and comprehensive.
You okay?
Everything okay?
I got fucking hacked today, and there's Now my fucking PlayStation account. God damn it.
You need to get
No,
off?
I'll deal with it later.
We can get, yeah.
No, sorry.
All
Didn't
right.
need to be that dramatic.
No, that sucks. That's
This is
horrible.
live, people.
It's terrible.
Seriously though, if you want to go take care of this ASAP.
I'm gonna deal with it here. It's okay.
Okay.
All right. So
Continue,
again,
Jared.
going back to that, obviously a super polished, well put together product. Unfortunately, it also ended up creating a new set of expectations for what shooters would be, not in the level of polish, but in the designed for more category. Console shooters, and Fran's a shootery guy and a PC guy, are inherently a different kind of video game than pre-console PC shooters. There's a time that shooters were designed to be remarkably fluid, and that word meant a very different thing than it does now 20 years later. Halo made a new kind of video game that is enjoyable, but it's also slow, linear, clutchy, largely built around cinematic in-game set pieces and dramatic Michael Bay-ish events that then pull the user into a further storytelling
This
drama.
sounds awesome though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like
But-
arguing against himself.
Yeah.
Continue.
But at the same time, the gameplay suffered tremendously
In what sense? From the design or from the console?
from the design, because
It wasn't the
as that-
technology.
Huh?
It wasn't the technology.
No, I'm not talking about the technology. I'm talking about the fact that anything you have to control with a handheld controller
So it was the technology.
is slower.
Yeah.
Okay, that the online interface that was required by the first two Halo games required a very, very, very different, particularly Halo 2. I think I want to say
Halo
the
1
first
didn't
Halo.
have
Yeah,
online.
Halo 2. That's what I meant to go. My apologies. That with Halo 2 slowed things down, and then it created a set of expectations from the way that we control the game to the way that we interface with other players to things like melee that has made shooters,
Fran's itching.
frankly,
Oh, man, no,
more,
this is
No, it's
crazy.
fine.
frankly, more boring and more invested in beauty than actual quality of gameplay.
Well, he is describing Destiny, but
I
It
mean,
made
he's
shooters-
describing
It made
one of
shooters
my favorite shooters
it made
of all time.
shooters far more conservative. And that's what it made shooters more like one another. Up to that point, shooters were startlingly innovative. They were trying vastly different things. From Halo on, everybody wanted to make Halo.
For good
I
reason.
think you're completely out of your mind, Jared.
Okay.
Yes.
I wholeheartedly
Let's
agree. From a multiplayer
Wait, with Jared?
perspective, no, I'm with
That
you
he's out of
guys.
his mind. I
He's
just
out of
wanna
his
be
mind.
sure.
I agree with you. He's out of his mind. Halo, I feel, was the first time that a shooter felt right on a console, where it was like, oh, this game is actually as good as PC players are having with shooters on their thing in a different way. Where
Two
it's like
completely
the
different
contr-
platforms.
Completely different platforms, different games. It
Yeah.
worked on
It
consoles. for
was
the first time.
factually the best shooter on a console at the time.
It
Bar
was
none.
absolutely the
That's
best
right.
shooter on a console at a time. And then nobody ever made anything else again.
Because they introduced matchmaking. They
You don't
introduced
play a lot of shooters, do you, Jared?
Actually, and this is the funny secret. I do.
Oh yeah? You don't think since Halo there's been zero innovation in shooters?
Did you not play
I think there's
Time
been-
Splitters?
I think
Crisis?
there's, how about this?
before.
I think there's
Crisis,
been
no.
less innovation.
Yeah.
I think there's been less innovation in shooters
Before Halo.
than there has in any
He's too large,
other
dude.
major genre of video games, including sports.
No, that's a
have a-
whole can of worms that I'd have to really think
Most
about.
of the innovations
I
that
have
have
a-
taken place in shooters have been marketplace innovations, XP systems, ways to sell people things, ways
but
to
even
keep
before
That's not,
Halo-
Halo's,
Duty
that's not
engaged.
Halo's fault. I mean, by definition, the base gameplay mechanic of shooting things is going to be inherently more limited than an RPG where the mechanics involve like crafting and gear making and
those are all the same.
potion making and a bunch of other shit you have to
Yeah,
busy
you
work you have to
have-
do. But go ahead, Fran.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I interrupted. It was my bad.
No, it was rambling.
There's so many layers. I know what you're trying to say, but you're in a way you're like blaming the technology, but also a mindset. You're right. Some of these RPG elements came to mind. If you're
Actually, I'm
right,
blaming the
console-
marketplace more than anything.
But that defines what is that is every day. Fortnite is now defining, like
Just
you said,
because it
microtransactions.
happened doesn't mean I think it had
But
to
wait,
happen.
I
That's
do
my
have a
point.
simple question. What are you positing as the solution?
I
Are you
didn't
saying
offer a
there
solution.
should? But meaning, what is the controversy? Are you saying there shouldn't have been an awesome shooter on consoles?
No, my controversial opinion is that
Read-
Halo made shooters worse.
No, but
that's
reform
it.
that.
No, what?
I think that's a thing that happened.
You think fundamentally today, first-person shooters are worse than
Yeah,
Halo?
because of
If we had lived
Halo
in
is
a
the
world
best shooter of
where
all time.
Halo had not happened.
Is that what
no,
you're
no,
saying?
No, that's not what I'm saying either. I'm saying if we lived in a world where Halo had not happened, we'd probably have better shooters today.
See,
That is so broad.
They would be a
Wow.
less popular, less well-funded
getting into
category of
this-
game, and they would be much
it's a controversial
better
opinion.
constructed.
He's allowed
The
to.
He's
most
creating controversy.
I was
He's
not
not-
prepared. I was not
For these levels.
prepared.
My thing is,
Just
the
like
arguments that you're
hallucinating, like, I
I
presenting,
can't. It's tied to
I
that.
feel are more appropriate towards Modern Warfare 4. Where I feel like Modern Warfare 4 much more set the tone for what multiplayer shooters
Yes.
look like today than Halo did.
What did Modern Warfare 4 do that changed what
DX.
Halo 2 did?
The XP systems,
Which
and,
again is about selling
The
new
progression
stuff.
system.
but
yeah.
no,
That's
not,
about
not,
no,
that's
no,
back to
no,
Modern
no.
Warfare 4.
No.
That's about player engagement, my friend. That has nothing to do with making a better game and everything to do with making sure you play that game longer.
Are you
does anyone-
crazy?
Here's a big secret about XP systems in video games that aren't RPGs. They are no longer, and have not for many years, been designed to do anything but make sure that you are playing the game longer and it gets reported back to the publisher or developer where you made the game through the little
not the
internet
only
system.
reason.
Wait, through the internet system that you signed up for, to make sure that you're playing more so they can report that in their meetings so they can look for the next way to monetize it in the next
course
game.
that's a
That is
big
the
one, but-
only
Listen, that
reason
monetization has
those
only
elements exist
happened in
in
the
those
last
games.
5 years.
Yeah.
I
Only
mean,
reason.
you have to look at that.
And
You're
that
missing
plans
a
for
whole
that
decade
monetization
of shooters
have been being
that did
laid
not
for
have
the last 15.
monetization tied to progression, Jared.
The
I
progression
think that
was
you're
put in so
unfairly
they could do
judging
it.
a whole decade of shooters because of what's happened recently with microtransactions and online play.
That's what they were
That's
building to,
really a
Andrea.
gigantic leap you're making. That's
It's not
completely
that people
unfounded.
plan that far ahead. They looked and they
This
said,
is-
how do we get more people playing our game longer?
Why is playing
What?
a
That's
game
such a
longer a
tangent.
bad thing?
Y'all,
My
he's
first
crazy.
controversial opinion.
Thank
That's
you,
so
Tim.
much more that later.
Guy Fieri gets way too much shit.
What?
Was that a game of
I'm
yours?
just fucking around.
Okay. He
My
had me in
first
there.
controversial gaming opinion.
I'm
I'm gonna
excited.
put 3 and 1 because I
I'm
fucking make the
excited
rules.
for Tim's list.
Here's my Final Fantasy
Oh.
controversial opinions. 3 and 1. Final Fantasy 7 is actually that good. I feel like back in the day it was like, oh, it's so great, and then it's now the new cool thing to be like, it's not that good, whatever. No, it actually is that good.
Had to be there
The
then.
characters are fantastic. I feel like now, cool. Okay, of course it doesn't stand up perfectly because no old game does in the way that we're grading them that way. Of course not. Final Fantasy VII's characters, the look, the music, the battle system, everything that's going on. It's a fantastic.
This is your
video
controversial
game.
thing?
Yeah.
Just that it's good.
Yeah,
Oh,
it actually is.
I didn't even know that
good.
it was bad.
That's
Nobody
really,
told
no,
me.
that's fairly controversial.
I
I'll
feel
be
like
glad
in
to
I
hear
missed
modern
that.
times, the least controversial thing would be like Final Fantasy.
I tend to
9 is the
ignore
best.
stupid stuff.
It's like, all right.
So I-
Final Fantasy 13, not that bad. Honestly, gets a lot of hate. It's very linear, and that's true. The story, not good. Gameplay, fantastic.
The battle system is good.
Fantastic. The paradigm system was amazing, and I just wish that it was a little bit wrapped in a better storyline.
I really like that you hopped in on both of these. These are good hills for you to try to die on.
Yeah.
13's battle system, I agree. It's really unique. There's nothing quite like it. It's very well done. The fact that you're just kind of choosing the approach you take to battle as opposed to the specific, that's a really neat twist on the
Yeah.
active time battle system. 7, that's much harder. I played it back in the day. My problem was I was an RPG fan already. That's a game that introduced a lot of people to RPGs. And if you'd been playing a lot of RPGs before 7, I think it was much less compelling because most of the RPG stuff in 7 isn't great. What was great
Well, I mean, it was
the
all
ci-
for marketing just for the meetings.
Yeah,
anyways.
the cinematics were amazing. The cinematics were beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
They were for the time. Now you look
Yeah.
at them, they're like freaking. They look like
Oh, but they were incredible
demented
at the
dolls,
time.
but they looked incredible then. And none of us noticed the inconsistent art styles back then or any of that. But
I like that. I feel like that adds to its charm so much.
yeah, you
The
really
inconsistent art styles of
Yeah.
just like whether it's battle or world map or little images. I
Yeah,
feel like
I
that
like
adds
that.
to the creativity of it. Like, I don't know. But
Going back on it, it's harder for me now. But my problem with it was then and now that it's not a great RPG. It's a good RPG with a great cinematic
Good, not great?
take on it. Like that it's extremely important. It introduced a lot of people to the PlayStation, introduced a lot of people to RPGs. But I think that compare it to 6 or 5 that came before it, compare it to Dragon Quest V, compare it to Suikoden, compare it to Ultima, compare it to any of its contemporaries, and they're all much better RPGs. That's the problem with 7.
and then finally,
Huh?
no. No. But yeah, then 13, it's not that bad. I'm not saying it's great. I'm just saying like everybody acted like it was the fucking worst thing. that
No,
ever
it is
happened.
not the worst game.
And it's not. And then my final fantasy. Whoa, my final
Final
fantasy controversial topic. The Final Fantasy X laugh scene is unfairly taken out of context. Everybody posted and they use it as an example of bad voice acting, and they're just like look at how fucking shitty this is, and it's that was the point of that scene. That would be like taking a random bit out of this episode, just putting it up, and being this is how these people act all the time.
I mean, that wouldn't be wrong though.
It would be.
There's no narrative going on here, but it's just that scene was about Tidus and Yuna getting to know each other, him trying to get her out of her comfort zone, him trying to make her laugh by acting like an idiot. So him walking to that dock and laughing out loud, ha ha ha, he was trying to make her laugh. It was a cute moment of character development between the two of them. And people just act like it was bad voice acting, and they're crazy.
It was way better than when that wizard came from the moon. I mean, that's
Hey man,
true.
more Destiny for you. No, I'm not going to. I'm pull my list up. I think Tim thought I was going to segue.
Go
He
for
referenced Destiny. That was why. That was what that.
Give me your next one.
Should I go down the list still? I mean, or should I be
Just give
skipping?
me one.
All right, I'm going to throw out a big one then.
Press the button,
instead.
Fran.
Yeah, I'm going to throw out a big one. I might as well just start off the top. Top pick. Mortal Kombat was one of the, if not the biggest game controversy. Now, again, you had to be there in 1993. But
So you're not picking your personal, you're
You know
picking general
I didn't know. We didn't get rules.
Here's what I think. I love
just said-
Gamescast because there are no rules.
There's no rules.
Take the instructions how you want.
yeah, wait. Oh, Jared's creating controversy. Yeah, see, I'm like you.
I also picked controversy.
No,
My
that is
personal,
I'm picking industry controversy.
I love where you're about to go with this.
Go for it.
Please dive
So
in. 'cause
sorry,
you're right.
I might have misunderstood the list, but we talked
No,
about
I
there's
like
no
Fran's
rules.
idea way better.
These are the
It seems
biggest
safer.
upsets and controversies, which defined as your own. Anyway, Mortal Kombat was so huge because of the blood in the game, the violence. We had never seen it go public like that. It got into, I believe, the Senate at the time. But there were people recording tapes of the scenes and showing. Can you believe this is in games?
That's why the ESRB exists.
Exactly. Howard Lincoln had to respond. Can you think of
Howard
a bigger,
Lincoln, as I think Retronauts pointed out, threw the rest of the industry under the bus in those hearings.
We've got them crumbling to the integrity of the game at Nintendo saying, well, we're going to put in the green blood and take out some heads off the spikes. And
He went further. He was like, those guys over there at Sega want to murder your children, and we don't. I mean, that was...
Yeah. I mean, you think the whole blast processing and stuff was a big thing.
They'll do what Nintendo.
Literally,
baby.
it was this war of
Get it done.
who's cool, who's not. Nintendo was not at the time because of that. I was a very devout Super Nintendo fan. I didn't have a Genesis.
For life.
But I went over to my friends and put in the ABCAB code, which is what it was, ABBACAB, I think.
ABACABB.
Dang. But it was ABCAB, right? I should have asked Jared first. But anyway, it was huge, and it did lead to, in 1994, the formation of the ESRB. But what's crazy is there were so many other games out there that, come on, Wolfenstein was already well out, and so many things happening on PC, but Nintendo's prominence, and it became in the media, but it made it into government at the time. It was a discussion.
Mortal Kombat, Night Trap. They brought the Justifier in, the light gun. Into the Senate and showed it off. You can watch that entire thing on C-SPAN. It's still on C-SPAN's website.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
It's funny to see that the discussion, of course, still exists today. Should kids be playing video games, and the violence and whatever, how you perceive stuff? Is Fortnite violent or not? Because it's a cartoon, but you're shooting people with real guns. But that was such a huge moment in the industry.
I love that. That's a
And
great.
so
That was
like
my
I
number
said,
one.
there are no rules. We can do whatever we want. But I did text you, Fred, and say controversial gaming opinions. Not controversial
But
gaming
that, to
moments.
me, okay, I define it. But
It's fun. I enjoy it. I like it.
I had
like
7-9 on the
That's what
list.
makes this fun. Yeah, you did it right.
Okay.
Andrea.
All right, this one I'm just gonna take a leap of faith
Let's
on.
go.
I
what
love
a fun
this.
show.
If finally achieved, I think cross-platform play will be incredibly underwhelming.
Expound.
That's great.
So the reason I think this is because we have been so siloed in our ecosystems on console for decades now that by the time cross-platform play finally makes it, like true cross-platform between all of the platforms, I don't think people are going to use it as much as they think they do, and I think very few developers are actually going to implement it into their gameplay systems. Because balancing multiplayer is already a tough gig. And the idea of trying to balance multiplayer across multiple platforms with multiple inputs that with controller systems that don't work exactly the same way and trying to make it equally even and fair is a ridiculously high ask. And I think the games that are going to try it, the one game that is doing it right now, Fortnite, there is not a single person that I know that's playing Fortnite actively that cross plays on the regular. Now, I know that my experience is probably different from yours, but this is my opinion. And I just think by the time they actually implement this, it's not going to be this big eureka moment that gamers have been calling for a long time. I think it's going to come and it's going to be celebrated and everyone's going to be like, yeah, finally we can play with our friends on other platforms. And then it's just going to like slowly fade into the background and not very many people are actually going to use it.
I think there's a lot of truth to what you're saying. I do think that people that are less interested in competitive gaming are more likely to engage in it. I think people with less money are more likely to engage in it because they'll be playing on older or lower cost hardware and just be happy to be part of the game. But I think that what you're saying is largely true for a different reason. I think that what's going to happen is it's going to just kind of slide in. It's not going to happen in one fell swoop. And by the time it happens, we're already going to be invested in some kind of online ecosystem where we're all friends through something different than we are now anyway. And so it won't seem like as big a deal. The matchmaking, the way that we communicate with people in the online space, I think it's going to change tremendously.
You think there's going to be one network to rule them all?
Yeah,
I think there
I
will
heard
be.
MySpace is coming back.
I think there will be. No, I think there will be 2 or 3 major ways that we communicate with one another online that are different than the ones we use now, and I think that's all we'll use.
I don't know where
like
what reality you're basing that thought in.
I'm basing that on watching Microsoft go out and say we're building an infrastructure for a streaming future.
You're talking
Everybody's
about
doing
the Azure cloud farm.
Mm-hmm. No, well, the xCloud online. It's called xCloud, is that right?
Yeah, I mean, we think of that. We tend to think of things in terms of consoles. We think in terms of the hardware,
service.
right? But Microsoft's not thinking in terms of that. They're thinking in terms of how to engage every aspect of our social gaming and artificial intelligence oriented cybernetic life. And that includes
cyborg?
our messaging. No, when I talk about
explain
cybernetics,
I
I'm
can-
talking about systems.
I could maybe go down a fantasy path where Google is that platform because they already have their fingers
Trying to
in
be.
damn near everything, and almost everybody we know has a Google account of some kind, right? Whether it be Gmail or YouTube or what have you. But
Not all the time.
But I don't think that there's ever going to be that because there's too many stakeholders right now that are making too much money off of their individual networks to want to make some kind of a parlay with the other side to take a smaller cut.
Oh, I agree. I just think I think it'll happen, but I think it's going to happen 5 to 10 years from now, and that's about the time I think that crossplay is actually going to happen.
Yeah.
Because I think it'll take an event like that to really force it.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's
I could
such
be
a
wrong, by the way.
huge discussion. I agree with you that the discussion is much bigger than the actual maybe need, but I do think it's an absolute necessity, and it affects, for me, cross-save more than anything.
Cross progression, yeah.
Cross-save it. Yeah, it's so annoying if I want to move to a different platform or play with someone else. Less about I want to play on the same server with Xbox and PlayStation and Switch. But I mean, certain games, huge. I mean, think of how big certain games get. You got to think of those small games as suddenly you take a small game that may not have enough people matchmaking, and now you get the power of Switch and, well, Google and xCloud all coming together maybe. I think it's important, but yeah, it's not like it's prevalent that everything needs it, right?
Jared.
Man,
I
I
didn't
didn't.
segue one here from that discussion. Actually, thanks for setting this one
Hey,
up.
you're
Andrea.
welcome.
By the way, I'd like you to know, Tim, that while I'm having a ball, I'm so horribly uncomfortable with this. Controversy and hot takes are not really my thing.
That's the guy with the hottest
Bring
take
in
in
the
the
hot
hall.
takes, dude.
Yeah,
You're
well, you
making
asked.
the content, and I love it. Let's
But
go.
but I'm just like, I just want everyone to get along. I think my only hot takes are that Banjo-Kazooie sucks and DK Country blows. And,
Okay,
and,
see,
you know,
see?
that's
Banjo, I don't want to fight about. I don't really care. Donkey
think it
Kong
sucks?
Country 2 specifically. Tropical Freeze specifically.
Tropical Freeze is pretty good.
Fucking
They took the minecart
fantastic.
level.
You said they suck?
What?
Both of those?
Oh yeah, I have strong
To be
feelings
clear,
about
you
this.
said-
No, but two completely different game styles.
By the way, these are not my controversial opinions that I'm bringing up to
Oh,
the show.
all right,
These
then
are
I'm
my
not
is,
gonna
what
get into
is?
it.
But this one I
Dang
think
it,
is
Jared.
controversial, but I really have come to believe it. The game of the decade. I was listening to GameScoop the other day, and they were talking about the game of the decade, and that got me thinking about this. And what's the game of the decade? The game of the decade, my friends, has already been made. I don't particularly enjoy playing it, and it's called Fortnite.
Yeah. I thought we
That
talked
is the game of
about
the
it.
decade.
Yeah, we have some. That is a very controversial opinion. I agree with you.
Yeah.
But I understand the controversy.
We talked about those reasons very quickly. It's free. It's cross-platform. It's friendly to children, adults, families. It's team-oriented. It's constantly changing. It's
A phenomenon.
Wonderfully monetized. It's a phenomenon, but it's mostly about bringing people together to play in ways that have literally never been possible
Yeah, I mean,
before.
it's impacting pop culture. So I think it depends on, it's funny, every time we made these lists and when I make these lists, that's why I want like this set of very specific rules, because depending on how you look at it, are you judging the impact of the game on other games, or does that not matter? And so you could get into the details there.
I think
but
it's all of the
think
above
it's
on this one.
Well, yeah, but I think it's an easy thing to say that, Fortnite is the biggest game of the, or what are we saying? The most important game of the decade?
Can you make a shooter now that doesn't take Fortnite into account? I mean, if you're
Yes.
right now, if you're working on Destiny
Yes,
3,
you can.
are you not terrified that somebody else is going to come out? You know, you look at Division 2, you look at Destiny 3, that somebody's just going to create exactly the same revenue model Fortnite did and pull it off? They will own that space if they do.
Yeah, that's so hard. Yeah, but that's so
because
hard. to do.
it was lightning in a bottle to a certain extent, because Fortnite had existed before, the Battle Royale mode was released. And
Yeah.
it was because of the groundwork that PUBG laid that they were
Yes.
able to be as successful as they were with Battle Royale. The credit that Epic absolutely deserves is how quickly they pivoted from their
Yes.
PvE mode in Fortnite to a PvP structure. Now, I want to make it clear that I know that Epic had always had PvP modes in the can, because they've been working on Fortnite for like 7 years before it
But
finally
not this.
launched.
It just vanished
It
off the
is.
map for years there during development. Yeah.
Exactly, because they were iterating and iterating and iterating, trying to figure out what is the most, the game mode that makes the most amount of sense for the infrastructure that we've built. And I'm still a diehard, Save the World fan. I don't really play
It's
much
fun.
Battle Royale, but I think that, Fortnite was built on the back of a lot of other games that did a lot of other innovative things. Now, obviously, PUBG was not the first Battle Royale game. We all know
H1Z1
that,
and-
right? Like, there's plenty of others in the space. But
Yeah.
what PUBG did to ignite an audience was really what paved the way for Fortnite to become the massive success that it is today.
I agree.
And I don't necessarily agree that it's the... I mean, I guess we would have to agree to terms of what the game of the generation
Absolutely.
has to, like, what criteria it has to tick off in those boxes. Because I think Fortnite is going to burst its bubble quicker than people realize.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that hits nail on the head. I just want to say that Fortnite absolutely dipped its cookies in PUBG's milk. Just want to get that out there. But amazing that they did it in such a short amount of time.
I love it.
I got that song.
Is that Jackie Hollywood?
Jackie
Yes.
Hollywood. It's Jackie
Love it.
Hollywood, baby. Where are we at?
Anyone.
Oh, I think it was me. I'm gonna
Just
go to
you
me.
should go.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Wii U had a better first-party lineup than the Xbox One has.
I love you so much, and you're so right.
It's a fact.
Yeah,
Wait,
if you're
I'd
not,
have to
if you're
see
not
that
counting
column.
backward compatibility, I agree.
Pull it up.
No, I
No,
think-
I'm not.
Like, you
Yeah.
name some of the games you're talking about, because like
Mario 3D World.
Okay.
New Super Mario Bros. U. Super Smash Brothers 4.
Mario Maker.
Mario Kart 8. Mario Maker. It's a lot of Mario games, but they're all different games.
Breath
Yeah.
of the Wild.
Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
I mean, hey.
Okay.
We're just.
It's
I don't
on
even,
it.
I don't
It's
even
on
need
it.
it. We
'Cause,
can
yeah.
not count it.
No,
I'll
no, no,
still
so
I
say
forgot
that.
Breath of the Wild was on
So
Wii U.
lifespan of Wii U, you including all that versus where Xbox. You're talking about first
Some
party.
big
First parties.
Xbox One exclusives:
First or
Halo,
second.
Master Chief
First or second,
Collection,
yes.
Quantum Break, Ori and the Blind Forest,
Wait, was it-
Sunset Overdrive,
Just it?
Forza Horizon 4, Halo 5 Guardians, Gears of War 4,
So not just at
Cuphead,
launch. Sea of
Forza
Thieves.
Motorsport
Yeah, no, not at
7,
launch.
Sea of
Whole
Thieves.
time.
Yeah.
No, I think of those two. If I'm going to put them on a scale, Wii U wins.
I
Wii U,
think
baby.
it's so subjective as to the type of
course.
gameplay you like.
Yeah.
If you like
Controversial
platformers, then Nintendo's going to win every time because that's what they do best.
That's a good hot take.
You know, and I think Xbox really kind of scratches the itch of gamers who like a more action-based experience.
Who
'Cause
like,
a lot of what Nintendo does is more puzzle and
My
exploration
7.9
based.
experiences. You know what I mean?
Oh.
Yeah.
But even those, you're talking about Halo 5, Gears 4. Is anybody going to argue that those were particularly standout installments?
And
in
that's
those
my
series?
No,
argument
I would
there.
argue that they weren't actually. They were two, really unremarkable installments in two otherwise really fantastic franchises.
Yeah, and that's part of where I feel like maybe people weren't getting fed as well as they'd like to on those. Forza's hard to argue with, obviously, especially Horizon. Those games are incredible, and Wii U had nothing comparable to those, and I don't think we
Mario
should
Kart 8.
undervalue.
Cuphead, I think is a good standout
Cuphead's amazing.
exclusive.
And
for
Ori,
sure.
honestly, I thought
Amazing.
was tremendous. It's every bit as good as anything Nintendo
oh my
makes.
goodness. Oh yeah. Ori's incredible.
It's a hard one.
Come at me.
No, I like that one.
Fran.
Well, I now realize my list is all fudged up because of I misunderstood.
You want us throwing out?
Throw one out here,
Let's
Fran.
throw out more. We can have less discussion around them
Yeah.
unless it's necessary.
But it's funny because now I was
come up
trying to
with some
realize like
bullshit.
where I landed on some because I listed industry controversy stuff. So yeah, like what I'll just start saying.
I'll go again.
Yeah. Let me think.
The DualShock 4.
Think of an opinion while he's
I got a
going.
million of them here.
The DualShock 4, despite its obvious battery problems, is the best controller we've ever had.
How dare you? Get out!
Yeah, out
I
of
feel
here.
like this is it's episode's just saying stupid stuff. That's why I wasn't prepared.
The DualShock 4 is a superb
It's amazing.
controller and one of my very favorites. But
the Wavebird
it's not
is the
the
best.
Wavebird, so go away.
Jinx.
Right, look at that.
I literally
First
said
agreement,
it right in your
consensus.
face. Oh, the Wavebird
Consensus.
is the best.
I want you to think
no
about,
Rumble, baby.
I want you to
No
think
Rumble.
think about this for just a second,
true.
Mr. Royal Rumble here, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Think about how many game controllers there have been in the history of this medium. How many dozens, well over 100 controllers in the history of this medium, and 2 out of 4 at this table just identified the same one.
No,
as
I
the
understand that.
definitive
The
best.
GameCube controller is amazing. It feels so good. But when we're talking about modern games, we're talking about the control, like how games are played nowadays. I think that the DualShock 4, at least for the games that I play, it works best for.
What do you play
having,
Smash with?
I love having the deep. The Pro controller now.
No, okay.
I love having but I'd play it with the fucking DualShock 4. I love the D-pad on the.
The touchpad
Yeah.
is a really fantastic addition because DualShock 3 was crap. I still think Xbox 360 controller is the best controller ever made.
My biggest thing is I've never liked either or any of the Xbox controllers because I don't like the way that the buttons feel bubbly.
Yeah.
I like the flatness of the DualShock face buttons.
I think a lot
The
of it
jewels.
comes down to stick placement too, right? If you like the side by side, if you like the
I
offset
like side by
sticks.
side.
It's the beauty of Elite controllers, right? You can
And there's
swap them
a
around.
lot of good stuff here, and I think we're all making good arguments. But let's not forget like the recency bias that's going on here as well. The kinds of games we play now require these kinds of controllers, so we think they're better. But there's an argument somebody could easily make that the Japanese Saturn controller is the all-time best controller. It is.
No, only you can make that. Now,
Only
here's
you
the
can
thing
make
though.
that
To me, the
argument.
DualShock 4, I want the DualShock 4 for any old game. I love it I would love to go back and play. Like, I wish I could use the DualShock 4 on the Nintendo Switch to play the NES online games. Oh wait, I can with the power of 8BitDo's little Bluetooth connector, and it's awesome.
I love
it's
that.
fantastic.
I love that.
Great controller. Battery, horrible.
Yeah.
Why can that thing not stay charged for more than 20 minutes?
It needs that touchpad,
See,
man.
that's so important.
Man, I love that.
I
touchpad.
honestly think
controllers.
the light bar has a lot to do with it.
does.
Because you're constantly emitting, and so
Yeah.
it's like
And see, that's
it's
the
just another
problem.
drain
On
on
one hand,
battery.
I'm like, we don't fucking need the light bar. Get rid of it. On the other hand, I'm like, my controller literally glows blue. So keep it.
Also,
never
Astrobot.
get rid of this.
Astrobot, man.
Well, and the games that utilize the functions of the
Yeah.
DualShock are really interesting. When you get audio coming out of the speaker on the DualShock, it's really cool.
Yeah. Tearaway.
I definitely think it's one of the most innovative controllers. The best controller, disagree.
What's your favorite controller?
I said the Xbox
Yeah, is
360
the
controller is
all-time
my
favorite
favorite.
is 360.
Yeah.
Even with the bad D-pad?
I mean, bad is relative.
No, it's not on the
the Xbox
360.
360.
I guess I'm not much
Xbox
of a
One
D-pad
D-pad,
user.
fine. The Xbox 360
No.
was.
I
Still
love
my
everything about that
favorite, yeah.
controller, but that D-pad can go straight to hell. But those
Anyone
triggers,
else
those triggers.
have
I
Anything
mean,
to throw out?
we
Oh, I
could
got
talk
some,
about the
yeah.
Rock Band Fender
Yeah.
guitar being the best controller of all time.
Oh, well.
See, I always preferred the Guitar
Power
Hero
glove.
controls over the Rock Band controllers because I didn't like when they turned it into more of like a flippy thing. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes,
Where-
I do.
Yes.
Like, I didn't like that.
like the click of the strum bar
Yeah.
on the Guitar Hero.
The
guitar as well.
Guitar Hero 3's wireless guitar was my favorite of any of the peripherals because I feel like it was the most precise for going for high scores and stuff. Whereas I feel like the
True.
Rock Band, that's when it turned a bit more casual on the guitar side at least.
Yeah.
If the SNES controller's triggers were just a little farther back, it'd be way up there.
What?
8-bit though.
8-bit though, indeed.
They changed the game, man. The
Wait.
SN30 Pro controller is that?
Yeah, right.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's perfect. Yeah.
Give me one, Jared.
Yeah, okay. I think my next one here is going to be, let's step out a little from the other. So let's go ahead and say it. Games are not expensive enough and not for the reasons you think. Games don't cost enough and not for the reasons you think. That's an opinion I hold. We talked a lot about games have been locked at $60, $50, $60 range for ages and ages and ages. And there's a lot to be said about the rise of DLC and how that's supplementing company income, et cetera. And I've come down before on the fact that I think games ought to be more expensive on that end, but that's not what I'm arguing for here. What I'm arguing is the other side of the market, that the low end of the games market is far too low. that we set our expectations for what smaller development studios or independent developers have to charge for a game for it to get made. And in particular, so they don't have to mortgage their house and then lose their entire lives in that process. So while I don't necessarily advocate now for games going over $60, I absolutely believe that we should be looking at a lot of small studio games and going, we should be paying $20 to $30 more for these than we are already. $10 for that studio, they need that money far more to get that project done. They're taking a much greater financial risk than the mega corporation that's funding the AAA game who can write the whole thing off at the end. Therefore, this person ought to be charging $30 or $40 for their little 2D platformer, not $5 or $10. And in the mobile space, it gets even worse. I see you nodding over there, Andrea.
Yeah, well, it's a very conflicting opinion. I agree with you as somebody who knows a lot of people who work on the development side of video games. I'm often the corporate apologist on Kind of Funny because I side with developers, the people who actually make these games and who risk their lives to make games. And so I see that value, and I absolutely agree that in no way should we be paying $2.99 for a video game. Like, why is a video game cheaper than a latte at Starbucks?
Yeah.
Right? You know, like the idea that we're in this crazy inflated price in the year 2019 and that you can get a 2 to 3 hour gaming experience with custom art and music and programming for cheaper than you would buy, you know, a hamburger at a fast food restaurant.
Yeah.
No, that is the dissonance there is real. On the other hand, I also understand that we are also at a really tumultuous economic time in the history of not only the United States, but a lot of other countries around the world, where the dollar is stretching far more than it ever has had to in the last 30 years, right? We're at a really tough time where people are having to make really tough choices.
Yes.
And so the idea that an already expensive hobby should get more expensive is a tough pill to swallow. And it's hard because I just sat here not that long ago, you know, championing for microtransactions. And that's why I say that it's such a conflicting statement that you made, because I agree that games should be more. We should be willing to pay more for pieces of art or the amazing, like, interactive storytelling medium that video games are. But at the same time, it's like, I only have so many dollars in my pocket.
I'm with you there. We're charging. This is such a hard thing to talk about, to look at people and go, spend more money, because you're right. We are stretched right now. And people keep talking about how, well, inflation has affected things. But the fact is, we don't have a lot of purchasing power as individuals right now. We just don't, compared to our history. We have less disposable income proportional to our income than generations before us have had in many cases. That is true. Even though dollars are individually worth a different amount, we still have that formula playing out. But that said, right now we have a system where people risk their lives to make games for us, literally risk their financial futures, risk bankruptcy to make us a game. We celebrate stories like Cuphead, or we look at people like Toby Fox going out there, or look at something like Stardew Valley and like, yeah, all they had to do was risk everything for 5 to 7 years to make this happen. Sure, and it worked for them, but what about the 1,000 men and women it didn't work for that year, who are in bankruptcy court and living in their parents' basements now? And that's the part. We need to be looking, I feel, at the Hollywood model, and even to a degree, the more dysfunctional Hollywood independent film model, which has its own issues, and at least looking for ways that people are pricing their products, what it actually costs.
So, like, you're referring to like a standardized ticket price.
I think so.
If I go into a movie theater, all of those movies, if I'm going at the same time of day, cost the same. Like, I'm buying a ticket for a matinee, let's say, like every movie in there, regardless if it's good or not, is going to cost the same.
Or indie or huge.
Right now, we're used to an iPhone game being free and a Steam game being $10, and I'm saying we probably ought to get ready for a world where an iPhone game is $10 and a Steam game is $30. And that's probably what it would take to make this a sustainable business for those people that doesn't largely exploit their hopes and dreams. I think about this a lot. In 1989, Jordan Mechner was working for...
Oh, yeah.
Solid year.
Jordan
Prince of Persia,
Mechner is
baby.
working for Broderbund, and he's designing Prince of Persia, the original. He designed that game almost entirely on his own. Built it on an Apple II. Game comes out. He's got a marketing department at Broderbund. He's got, their publicity people. And then the game is ported over to other platforms by their staff members. But largely, he builds that game on his own. I was looking at a 1991 catalog, 2 years after its Apple II release. The DOS port of Prince of Persia is selling at Radio Shack for $39.99. in 1991. That's a game that one guy developed and one or two other guys probably ported with a little marketing support. And that's what they were charging then. We look at a $30 game on Steam and say, no way. One of the reasons I like Monster Boy is they had the balls to ask for $40. And because it was worth it.
We are running out of time for this show.
I was going to say, it's never going to happen, unfortunately, because it's like you're just peddling goods and like, I mean, how would you could never standardize it.
You keep looking for solutions.
But I agree
I'm just
with
having
you.
controversial.
I know.
Exactly.
I'm not. I'm just posing. Obviously,
for
they're
sure.
like, well, that's kind of important. But like, some people do go out and sell it for $30 and it fails, and then later they sell it for less.
Yeah.
And then people do buy it.
Do you remember people's complaints when The Witness was $60?
Yes, I do.
People don't complain about anything.
Yeah.
I differ in opinion from you from this, where it's like I really feel like it's like not everyone is owed the right to make games and to make art even. So it's like
I agree.
come up with a system that you're
if it
gonna
was
be able
easy,
to fund
everybody
your
would
thing.
do it.
Exactly.
There is no magic system
Yeah.
for
Well,
that, Tim. It
but-
doesn't
No,
exist.
totally.
Well, but I will say it's in development in the sense of subscription model is coming, streaming is coming, and when you have something like Netflix, there's a reason why somebody can make an indie for $500,000 and somebody makes it for $20 million, and all you pay is $5 a month.
and when you come from
And
these
then they're in
subscription things,
charge.
these things are super key with
And
Xbox Game Pass
$30 billion
happening.
in debt, but that's okay.
But the thing that's great about the subscription services, and I don't think a lot of people know this,
Chump
on
change for
YouTube,
them.
for example, you make no fucking money on YouTube ads.
No.
Like the demonetization, all this, it's like, it's dire, it's bad, whatever. And like everyone's always talking about it because it's a real fucking thing. YouTube Red, or now YouTube Premium, there is so much more money there. For people, for you guys that pay for YouTube Premium and watch our content, we make 5 to 10 times as much money from those views because your money's going to YouTube and we get a percentage of it than these YouTube ads. And like that, I feel like we're moving towards a future where that's
Yeah.
going to be true for
That's
games as
yeah.
well.
think
I
that
joke
will
earlier
help a
about
lot.
there being no solution, but that's why I'm excited. Maybe more than anything else, the streaming future has the opportunity to bring more games to more people for less money and more money in the pockets of developers. Less money to consumers, more than anything else.
Yeah, I mean, it's the world where you just subscribe to PlayStation or you subscribe to Nintendo.
Rising
and
tide
that's
lifts
it.
all boats.
Hell yeah, baby. All right. Before we end this show, I just want to say 3 really quick things. Warrior Within is as good as Sands of Time. Crash Team Racing is better than any other kart racer besides maybe Mario Kart 8. And Twilight Princess is better than Wind Waker.
Oh, right, man.
We will see. Oh, yeah?
All
Let's go,
right.
baby. It's time for the post show. We're going to do a real quick one here because we got a lot going on here. Kind of funny. I love you very much. Thank you all for supporting us. Andrea, thank
Yes.
you very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Where should people stay tuned to see that Red Dead Redemption 2 spoiler cast?
Well, you can get it on podcast services. What's Good Games. You can get it at youtube.com/What's Good Games. If you want to support what we do, patreon.com/What's Good Games. Yeah, it's going to be publishing this Friday morning.
Until next time, have a controversial day.
Oh, man.